All right, watching the Hunter Biden interview.
I was drinking so much alcohol, almost a handle of vodka a day. And alcohol is the most destructive drug, not just to your body, but it puts you in more danger than any other drug that I've ever experienced. And then you add on top of that the amount of crack that I was using at the time. And crack cocaine, in terms of your physical health, is not as dangerous as the situation that you put yourself in to be able to obtain it.
How do you get crack?
One of the things I don't want to do is give a how-to to any moron like myself that may think that it's a good idea. But crack cocaine is a, I am fully aware when I'm talking about it in relationship to my own experience with it. It is still a shocking thing for most people, because we have been fed this perception of crack cocaine. It's more than just a drug. It's more than, like, if you say meth, or if you say heroin, or if you say coke.
The basic claim that you shouldn't interview people if you don't have the chops to push back is correct. This is fucking retarded. Never mind, actually. I don't know why I'm even reading this comment. The basic claim that you shouldn't interview people if you don't have the chops to push back is correct. Exactly the problem with Joe Rogan. Bring on a second person to do it then. Bring on somebody to have the debate, because people are doing this no matter what. Also, that wasn't the argument that any of those people were putting up. The argument that all those people were putting up was, don't interview this guy because you can't push back against him. Bring on this guy who's on my side that you can't push back against. I don't know why when you have like a super ultra bad faith actor, you guys try to extract some nugget of truth from what they're saying to pretend that like any part of what they were saying had anything to do with that. Because if these guys had brought on any like insanely like Norman Finkelstein, any other like uneducated retard about Palestine, people like Hassan would be clapping and saying, oh good, they got educated, that's really great. So yeah.
Cocaine. It comes with a whole bunch of different baggage. And because of that, places that you can go get it are some of the most dangerous places in whatever location you happen to be in. And it's everywhere. Mainly for that reason, I learned how to make my own. Have you read, I'm going to pretend like you're not getting attacked by a bee right now.
Hey, it's all right.
Keep my train of thought.
Without them, we would all
just trying to, by the way, that's true too. Birds aren't real, but bees are.
Good morning, America and the world. My name is Andrew Callahan, the host and creator of Channel 5, the largest independent crowd-funded newsroom in the United States. The following interview is with Hunter Biden, the controversial, storied son of former President Joe Biden, who issued a full and unconditional pardon for Hunter during his final month in office, shortly after Hunter was found guilty of tax-related crimes and being an illegal drug user in possession of a firearm. Hunter has yet to speak to the media about this pardon. And
after years of investigation, by the way.
Hasn't done a televised interview.
The same crimes, by the way, that Joe Rogan is committing by smoking marijuana when he's on the Rogan Experience or whatever, and also says he has guns.
Years. In fact, aside from a very limited and controlled press run to promote his new book, Beautiful Things, in 2021, Hunter hasn't given a single statement to the media, especially in regard to the laptop scandal that was a crucial component in the Stop the Steal movement back in 2020, wherein millions of Trump supporters alleged that Joe Biden was being controlled and manipulated by nefarious foreign actors who leveraged their business connections with Hunter to peddle influence in the White House. As I mentioned, this alleged intel connects to private messages and emails that were found on the laptop that Rudy Giuliani and his lawyer claim Hunter left in a computer repair shop in Delaware sometime in 2020, where after the laptop repairman, John Paul Mac Isaac, pictured here, essentially leaked its contents to the world. Along with evidence of alleged corruption, tax evasion, and influence peddling, what was also leaked from the laptop is nearly a decade of private photos of Hunter in the thralls of crack cocaine addiction. All right, in today's interview, we're going to discuss the laptop, the 2020 election, crack cocaine, and more, with an emphasis on recovery and away from gossip and family drama. And by the way, if you'd like to listen to or download an audio version of this interview, I've uploaded a crispy WAV file to the podcast feed of our long-form program, 5Cast, which is available now on Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon. All right, let's get into it. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Hunter Biden. All right, Mr. Biden, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. How long has it been since you've done a formal sit-down interview?
You know, it's been a while. Been a long while. I had a conversation with Jamie Harrison, who's the former chair of the DNC. He's a great friend, loyal, and I was down in South Carolina for other things and kind of like family down there. So I sat down with him and talked about some stuff, but nothing like this.
What made you feel like now's the time for an official, unedited long form?
Well, I don't know when it is the right time or not the right time. I'm an admirer of your work, and we have a mutual acquaintance. It didn't take me much to agree to be really interested. I think the work that you've done is some of the most interesting commentary on the moment we're living in. The expanded moment that we seem to be continuing to live in of the from 2020 on. I hadn't seen much of the earlier work that you had done, but I do know that I at least appreciate the sincerity with which you approach everything that you do.
I appreciate it. You said 2020 on. Do you feel like that's the year the world kind of went crazy?
No, I think that that's the year that we all kind of woke up to the realization that things are crazy. But no, I think that they've been going crazy for a while, and I don't know whether crazy is the right word. I think that I don't know how interested people are in my take on why I think the world is a little bit crazy right now.
Well, I think there's probably millions of people out there who just want to know how you're doing.
Personally, I'm great. I tell everybody, and Melissa gets kind of upset with me because it has been obviously a difficult time. You know, the past 5 years have not, at least from any outsider's perspective, been fun. But for me, as a person in recovery, and being able to maintain that recovery through this and stay clean and sober throughout it, it's one thing I allow myself to take some pride in. And I know about my life is that I survived almost certain death. And I mean, I don't know if you read my book, but I'm pretty transparent about it. Having survived that hell kind of prepared me to be able to make it through kind of the public humiliation that, I don't know any other way to put it, that I've experienced over the past close to 5 years now. And it doesn't seem to stop, but I'm more grounded in who I am and what matters to me and what I'm grateful for on a daily basis than I've ever been in my life. And physically, I'm in a hell of a lot better shape than I was since my last drink or drug 6 years ago.
So it's been 6 years.
Yeah, just over 6 years.
When you say you almost died, can you kind of give us some more context?
I was a drinker, and at the end, my addiction had progressed so much that it was potentially deadly on a daily basis. The thing that was the most concerning and the most real about facing death was in actuality the alcohol. Once you fall into that lifestyle, and I wouldn't call it a lifestyle because there's no life to it at all. You enter a completely different world in which you're living kind of completely outside of the bounds of any communal norms. I don't know. It's a scary place to be. And I met some of the most truly heroic, astounding, thoughtful, kind people that I've ever met in my life that are living, lives of quiet desperation, not quiet, very loud desperation, but even in that, found space in their hearts for empathy and kindness. And I've met some of the most awful, predatory people that I've ever experienced in my life.
So you feel that the thralls of addiction do oftentimes swallow up very genuine, earnest people, but at the same time, that underbelly is home to a specific breed of evil as well?
One of the things that I've realized is that addiction is one of the most universal conditions. I don't know many people that have not been I've realized is that addiction is one of the most.
Has drinking/drug abuse ever been a cause of trouble in your family? Damn, those are some high fucking numbers.
Universal conditions. I don't know many people that have not been impacted by it in some way, whether it's addiction to drugs or addiction to behaviors. They have the same dilatory effect on not just you, but more importantly, on your immediate community, your family, and then it just spirals outward. And I don't know anybody that hasn't been impacted by drugs and alcohol in a really significant way, or at least a way in which it's created trauma in their own personal lives and the lives of those that they really love. And so while it's universal, it's something that we rarely talk about. And it's kind of the way in which we treat drug use it's something that someone else is doing, and that someone else happens to be your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, yourself, your coworker. And it only becomes a problem when it becomes a problem for you.
Do you think that you would have been treated differently by the media if your addiction was to an opiate or perhaps methamphetamine as opposed to crack, which kind of has a racialized context to it?
Well, maybe, I don't know. Because it depends upon what media you're talking about. Because I like, what is the media? I think it was just an added bonus for them that they could say crack addict, and everybody would go, "Oh my God, he's a monster." So I think for those that wanted to,
You plan on covering the new filings in your case? No, it's just our pushback against their filing to amend the complaint. But we're still just waiting for the judge to issue a bunch of rulings. There's not much to go over.
Use it as bludgeon. It's easier when you slap the word crack addict onto it. It made me a lot easier target for the Don Juniors of the world, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, just because of their inherent kind of meanness about things. But I'm not a victim here. I was a crack addict. I wrote about it. I was transparent about it. I wasn't naive to the idea that somehow that would be something that anyone or everyone would be able to fully comprehend and have empathy for. We're lacking empathy across the board, not just for Hunter Biden. But I guess I was a little bit surprised in terms of a lot of people in the press, whether it was the New York Times or the New York Post, kind of dismissed addiction as somehow unique to my family, or without taking into account what they were doing to other people that were looking to get clean and sober. One of the things about getting clean and sober, at least I found, I don't know what your experience in your life or with your friends or others, is one of the things that keeps us in the cycle of addiction is our guilt and our shame, is the lies we tell ourselves and the lies that we tell the people that we care about the most. And you get clean and you get sober, and what ends up happening is you still hold on to these secrets. Like, I smoke crack. I was a crack smoker. They know that I did cocaine, or they know that I was drinking, but they don't know that I was also an inveterate drug user. And so you keep that secret, and that guilt kind of boils up. And the only place that you can talk about it is in rooms full of virtual strangers, which is really helpful. But it isn't it doesn't release you from that awful feeling that I'm about to be found out. And that anxiety. And so then you get triggered. Your brain tells you to do the only thing that it's learned how to do, is that you need to save yourself. And the fastest way to save yourself is a drink or a drug. So you get caught.
Have you been impacted by addiction? I played and relapsed on League of Legends like 3 or 4 times. I'm not proud of it.
In this loop. And the favor that they did for me is I don't have any more secrets. Now, not everything that's been said about me is true, but there are the things that most people would be very embarrassed about. I've been very open about. I spent more time on my hands and knees, picking through rugs, smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine.
Based.
I probably smoked more Parmesan cheese than anyone, and so I don't get triggered in the same way. But the thing that scares me is for people that look at the way that I'm treated in the media, whatever the hell the media is, and think, do I want to get honest? I mean, seems to me, if you look at that as a test case, better to keep some things unsaid. And I think that's really dangerous for people, at least in my experience with recovery.
As far as the media goes, what do you think are the 3 craziest things you've heard about yourself in the press?
Oh my God, the list is forever and forever. They got stuck on for a while, even Fox News, that I funded the Wuhan lab. I said that to someone a long time ago on camera as in response to a question like you just asked. And you got to be really careful. Somebody's going to be able to cut that and say, I did not fund the Wuhan lab.
I did.
Yeah, you did? Yeah, exactly. Me and George Soros. Supposedly me and George Soros have a lot in common. The one thing I'm positive we don't have in common is that I am very, very far from being a billionaire. But those conspiracies are kind of the craziest. You know, I just heard Jake Tapper is going on TV saying that, you know, I basically acted as the chief of staff.
I think Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
I think I spent 12 days in the White House in the last 2
Dude, Tapper.
years of the administration. I had a lot of other things going on. I think the one that was like you feel like you just got hit in the gut, you know, by an elephant, is when Rudy Giuliani and Bernie Kerik went to the Newcastle County Courthouse here in Delaware and talked about me being involved in, I think, you know, child sex crimes and stuff like that. And I mean, literally with nothing. That one was the last and the only one that was kind of hard to wake up from. Is like how do you ever take that out of somebody's head after they've heard it, you know? But I mean, truly, the list just goes on and on.
Did you try to sue for defamation or damages or anything after that?
No, and I mean, I am in a defamation suit right now. I mean, one of the craziest ones is what Patrick Byrne said about me. And let me get this straight. He said that I was the key person in ensuring that the sanctioned Iranian oil money that was being held in South Korea was released at the behest of myself and somebody in Pakistan. And I took a 10% fee off the $8 billion for my family.
We have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think.
And then I had traveled to Tehran and to the Middle East.
Remember that the big man thing was the one quote that they tried to hang their hat on and claim that the entire Biden crime family empire, none of that was ever proven. Nothing from all the investigations, all the congressional hearings, all the closed door subpoena stuff, nothing ever came from it. Meanwhile, the Trump family is just out openly engaged in some of the most blatant, largest corruption of all time for any president. Having Witkoff and his son run around the world doing fucking deals for this World Liberty Financial bullshit that Trump has a 60% stake in is unbelievable.
In 2022 and 2023 in order to effectuate this, and then that ultimately his followers made the direct connection that money was used to fund Hamas for the murder of over 1,400 Jews on October 7th. That's the kind of stuff. And now I know you guys look and say but who believes that? You know, I don't know. The million people that read that tweet, you know. I had one guy in California who is I don't remember his name, but he's associated with SpaceX, a big investor in SpaceX, a very, very wealthy guy, claim just months ago that that I rented a house from him and that I trashed the house and I had the Secret Service stiff him on the rent, and that I tried to pay him with the book of art made of my own feces.
His ex-landlord claims he stiffed him on a whopping $300,000 in rent. What happens to the back rent that Hunter Biden owes my family? Is that pardoned now?
And, you know, like, how insane is that, right? You know, but you look into the background of this person, and he's a major investor in SpaceX. He's probably worth a few $100 million, and he has this huge following on X. Elon Musk retweeted that, and it went, you know, and it went viral.
It's pretty messed up, man. There's also some.
Did he retweet it, or did he quote tweet it and say, wow? Or did he say, shocking if true? Or did he say, need to look into that?
People, though, who just think that if you leave the country.
Or did he say, interesting, exclamation mark?
You're a spy. You know what I mean? Like, why is he going so many places?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, the really interesting thing is they created this a character that is both, in some sense, a ne'er-do-well fail son that has not ever accomplished anything, and a criminal mastermind all in one. I kind of feel like, you know, pick one. Most of my travel during that period of time when my dad was vice president, and by the way, I didn't travel anywhere when my dad was president. I don't think I left the country. But during that time, I was the chairman of the board of what's called the U.S.-UN World Food Program. And I was also chairman of the board of the Truman National Security Project, chairman of the board of the Center for National Policy. I was a professor at Georgetown University, adjunct professor for over 4 years in the master's program of the School of Foreign Service. I taught a course on advocacy, largely based upon the implementation of a thing called PEPFAR, President's Emergency Plan for Aid Relief in Africa. And as the chairman of the board of the U.S.-UN World Food Program, it's kind of like what you know of, like, as a kid growing up, like UNICEF. UN has voluntary aid organizations in which each nation state that is a part of the UN
reprograms these children with vaccines that infect their mind and turn them into Soros puppets, agents ready to strike, Manchurian candidates.
Voluntarily contributes to the continued operations of UNICEF, UNHCR, UNESCO. All of these organizations are all voluntary aid organizations. The UN World Food Program is the largest voluntary aid program in the United Nations, and it is the largest humanitarian organization in the world. It serves over 80 million meals on a daily basis in 72 different countries, and it is the first on the ground because it controls all the airlift and communications for all of the relief efforts globally in any natural disaster or civil war or conflict. And so the UN, U.S. Is responsible for about 65% of the budget of the World Food Program, which was my responsibility as chairman of the board. And I increased the budget of the World Food Program, which just won the Nobel Peace Prize 2 or 3 years ago, by 50% when I was chairman over my term, to like $2.4 billion. It's all gone now. Trump ended all of that. But point about traveling. So I went to the Philippines after Typhoon Haiyan. I went to Kenya to Dadaab when refugees were flowing in from across southern Africa, and Ethiopia. I've been to Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, and I've been to all over the world. 75% of my travel during that period of time was on behalf of the World Food Program and other, NGOs that I worked on behalf of.
So I want to back all the way up to the very, very beginning. Yeah. A little short bio. We could do a long bio too. So you're born here in Delaware or born here in Pennsylvania?
In Delaware.
Okay, in Delaware.
Yeah, Wilmington.
Wilmington.
Yeah, 10 minutes from here, 15.
What are your thoughts on Wilmington, Delaware? Nice place?
Oh, yeah. One of the things that I still do love about the East Coast and Delaware and the Mid-Atlantic is the history. And so I'm a little bit of a history geek.
Yeah, because Delaware doesn't really get much representation, because you got Philadelphia, powerhouse of history and culture. You got Rocky, a lot of other things going on there, do important stuff. Yeah. And then
we agree on that. I'm basically living in a suburb of Philly. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say that, but you got Baltimore, The Wire.
Yeah.
You got people on horses in the streets out there.
Yeah.
People.
Why do you think Hunter chose to do an interview with Andre over traditional media? I don't know if there are any traditional media shows that would do like a multi-hour interview. Like, this would have to be a podcast thing, and then what, is he going to go on fucking Joe Rogan?
On ATVs. And then Delaware's kind of sitting in between. People know that it's a corporate tax haven. People know that the Biden family's from there. What's something that people don't know about Delaware that they should?
Delaware's the first state. I don't know if they should know this, but it's the first state to ratify the Constitution. When Thomas Penn basically colonized Pennsylvania, he carved out Delaware, and we called it the diamond in the jewel in the crown of the colonies. Delaware is almost a state of almost all coastline. Here's the thing that's interesting about Delaware. Delaware is geographically and historically and emotionally both a southern and a northern state. Mm-hmm. So the northern part of the state feels very much like Philadelphia. The southern part of the state feels very much like South Carolina.
So do you see like Confederate flags in Dover?
Maybe not Dover, but definitely Gumboro. You know, I think that the National Association for the Advancement of White People started in Gumboro, Delaware.
How are they doing?
I don't know. It was a long, long time ago.
Seems like they're doing pretty well.
I think they probably had a real comeback. But that's because Delaware was a slave state that fought on the side of the Union. And the Mason-Dixon line, actually, Delaware is the only state the Mason-Dixon line does not bisect. And that is because it starts at our western border, the actual line for the Mason-Dixon line, and right in the middle of the state. So there's 3 counties in Delaware, and if you go below the canal, you're in the southern part of Delaware, Kent and Sussex.
And you were born in the 70s?
I was born in 1970. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A couple years after the Summer of Love.
Yeah. My brother was born 1969, February 3rd, and I was born February 4th, 1970. And my sister was a year and a couple months after that, in 71.
Now, I know that you've talked about this story before, but there was a tragedy pretty early on in your life. Can you kind of tell people what happened for those who don't know?
Yeah, my dad got elected to the Senate on December 18th of 1972, so I was almost 3 years old. And my brother, myself, my little sister were with my mom and the dog in a station wagon, and we were hit by a tractor trailer. My mother and sisters were killed instantly. My brother and I were trapped inside the car, but they got us out. And I had significant head trauma. My brother basically broke almost every bone in his body and was in traction, and we were in the hospital together for weeks. And family and this community saved us. And my aunts and uncles moved in with my dad, and he figured out a way to be with us and be a dad to us and also be a senator, commuted every day. And so I grew up here. I mean, I spent a lot of time with my dad. My brother and I had this rule with my dad, is that we could go with him whenever we wanted to. And kind of no questions asked. And obviously we didn't take advantage of it, otherwise it would have gone away, but we were smart enough to do that. But we spent a lot of time on the train, going down to the Russell Senate office building with my dad, and just to be with him. We did everything together. The thing about my mom and my sister dying and my brother and I being in that accident, it's like the realization that I have with addiction and being someone public, is that I'm in no way unique. You know, everybody's had a tragedy in their family. And when you're in the public eye and as transparent, I think, as my family has been about those tragedies, and whether we wanted to or not, you have this incredible wellspring of other people that come to you and want to talk to you about your own experience or their experience. Like, how'd you get through it? And like, I had the same thing. And you realize that we are almost all universal in that way. Is the one thing that binds each and every one of us is not necessarily love. People can go through life without being loved. It's not the only experience that we will all have between the time we're born and then we die is pain. And being able to recognize pain is a thing that connects us all. Is a real gift, I think, at least, and given me a lot of strength when I needed it.
How do you feel that particular experience impacted you growing up?
I don't know. I think it's something that's a lifelong journey to be able to figure out what that kind of a trauma has on you. I don't know. I mean, I used to fight against the idea that it had anything to do with my addictive behavior. I don't fight about that as much anymore. It kind of makes sense to me in a way. I think that some of the genetics make sense to me in a way too. But in terms of that trauma and how I see it today, in the way that people responded, it's all about the love that I experienced during that time. I look back and I think of the way in which my family surrounded me. I was given the gift of having known and having 2 mothers that I consider my mom, both of them, my birth mother and my mom now. And I feel incredibly lucky for that. Instead of thinking of it as some tragedy, I feel incredibly lucky that I had my aunts and uncles that literally moved in with us. And I got the experience of having an extended family. My uncle is my best friend in the world, outside of my dad and my brother. And that, I don't know whether we would all be as close if it weren't for that. But you know, I mean, you come from a big Irish Catholic family. This isn't like, oh, woe is me. Yeah. You know, I mean, everybody's gone through this.
It was definitely a cultural kind of instinct to not allow ourselves to be defined by traumatic events and to take responsibility for the way that, you know, we've handled things that have happened.
Oh yeah, I think so. And I think ultimately at the end of the day, we all have to take responsibility, regardless of the reason. The consequences aren't always fair, but I think the biggest question is whether you use it as an excuse or do you use it as a catalyst to be more empathetic with other people and also yourself.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, and it sounds like the kind of double-edged sword you're talking about, or the flip side of the coin is that even in the wake of tragedy allowed for your extended family, like your uncles and stuff, to become closer because they recognized that you needed like an extra layer of support. And so do you feel like without that happening, there wouldn't have been as strong of a bond within the family?
I don't know. I do know this, is that my family is just incredibly close-knit, but I can't imagine that, I mean, obviously, yeah, I think your relationships are forged by the circumstances, and the more dire and consequential the circumstances, the stronger the bond. I mean, I don't know what your experience is, but I do know this, is that I feel very lucky, and the reason I feel very lucky is because this state, not just my family, but the people in this state. It's like when I was on trial here, I walked out of that courtroom after the conviction in Delaware in the gun case, and the first thing I said to the group of people that were there, my family and closest friends, is that how grateful I was. I mean, I'm truly grateful. It was like being able to go to your own funeral. I looked behind me and realized that no matter what, there was a whole courtroom full of people that knew who I was. And I had a whole family of people that were like aunts and uncles to me. I felt lucky, and I still feel lucky, and I don't take it for granted.
I think in a lot of ways, catastrophe reveals character. You know, you're able to see how far someone's willing to go to help you, or how much they care about your well-being when things aren't going well.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've had a couple different cycles of that throughout your life.
Yeah, it feels like a never-ending cycle of that, you know. But, you know, in this life, I hope that at the end of the day, like, look,
If you take away the one scandal, do you think he could have been a good candidate for president? Who, Hunter Biden? I have no idea. We don't really know that much about like what his policies or any of that would be, or even really about that much of his life in general, I guess. Like Biden had decades in the Joe Biden had decades in the Senate, right? It was more predictable.
Trying to figure out how to make as clear as possible. Addiction is not an excuse, but it is an explanation. There are consequences for people, as you know, or anybody that's in recovery or spent any time, is regardless of whether those consequences are legal, financial, relationship-wise, or anyway, is that, you know, that addiction, and when I say addiction, I mean alcohol too, because I don't know of any more destructive drug than alcohol, there are consequences. And I'm still appropriately paying the price for some of it, or trying to make amends for stuff that are personal, that I believe that I still need to make amends for. I don't believe that there should be a continued, that somebody should have to wear scarlet A for the rest of their life. Yeah. You know, it's interesting the way that people talk about addicts, because if they just step back for a second.
It's crazy how much he sounds like Joe Biden. Yeah, kind of, actually, if you really think about it. Wait, hold on. You think a little bit? Like they could be related, maybe? Kind of, sort of? Nah, never mind, no.
And examine their own lives and the people that they idolize. I mean, I guarantee you at least 50, 60% of them are in recovery, hopefully, or experienced some level of addiction in their lives without kind of attaching this scarlet A to everything that they do.
How old were you when you first started, I guess, drinking or experimenting with drugs?
I think the first time that I think I write about this, the first time I took a drink was a party where I stole a glass of champagne and hid under the table, maybe 11, something like that.
Okay, so before high school.
Yeah, but that was like my first memory with alcohol was that. I don't think I didn't like continue drinking after that, but I can remember that distinctively. But then in high school was, when I started drinking. I played football, so you wouldn't really drink during the football season, but weekend drinking, yeah.
So just like standard going out Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
No, obviously no crack.
No. I didn't, I experimented with drugs in high school, but drugs as an issue did not occur until crack.
So it was just like you didn't go from cocaine to crack?
No, it wasn't as linear as that. And so with me, what ended up happening was when my brother was dying, he was dying in a very slow but certain way because he had glioblastoma, multiform stage 4 cancer, which basically you have a 2% survival rate. And even that 2%, your chances of being fully intact physically and mentally are, basically 0.2% people survive without, their life, but almost a 98% certainty that you're not going to live outside of 2 years. And so my brother never wanted to really know those numbers. And so I remember, I haven't read all of the book, but people have given me little synopsis of like this guy, Alex Thompson, who no reason anybody would know who the hell Alex Thompson is. He has this whole thing, I understand, in which he says like the Bidens covered up those cancer diagnoses. I feel like saying, what the fuck are you talking about, man? You get a terminal diagnosis, okay? What do? Do you accept it, go home and die? Or do you say, I'm not dying, I'm going to be part of that 2%. I sit down with the oncologist, and the oncologists tell me that there are new procedures and there are new experimental things that they're doing as it relates to X, Y, and Z at MD Anderson or at Sloan Kettering, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to try that, and I'm going to survive, and I'm going to run for governor. My brother was the Attorney General. He was no longer the Attorney General. He did not run for re-election as Attorney General, but he was considering running for governor at the time. When my brother would be asked, he'd say, I'm okay. I'm okay. And he'd keep doing his job, and he was in private practice at this time. And so what does Alex Thompson think my brother would owe fucking anyone to say, oh no, I'm dying, I'm not going to run for governor? And why would he do that? Why would you give up on life? And it's almost like somehow that this human being is not a human being. Like, he has not experienced life. He has not had anyone in his life that is, and I find it really hard to believe in a day and age when I don't know anybody that hasn't had somebody in their family that has cancer. And so what do you say to them? Oh, you have cancer? Oh, so you're going to go tell your boss that you're dying and you should quit now? No, you don't. You go do your chemo, you do your radiation, you get up in the morning and you eat better, and you go on a different diet plan, and you get experimental procedures done, and you fight and you fight and you fight. At least.
How often do you find people using drugs or alcohol to deal with traumatic experiences? I'm not actually sure how much of that is due to predisposition to becoming addicted versus situationally you can become addicted. I just don't know the answer.
That's what my brother.
Crack is cocaine cooked down with baking soda to get more usable product. Oh, they don't train. I think cocaine technically broadly refers to the entire drug. And I think that, I don't know what they call powder cocaine, but crack cocaine is, they mix it with something, baking soda and something else, and then it's easier to smoke. But I think technically crack cocaine is cocaine, but the method of delivery is different because you're smoking it. And then I think necessarily the purity, I think, is lower, maybe? Well, I guess it must be because you have to mix it with other shit. Oh, freebase cocaine might be what they call that powder stuff. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
It did. Anyway, my point being, it was slow. And I knew that there was going to be a real transition. And I knew that there was going to be in the entire family. Not for any other reason than proximity. I was with him all the time, as was his wife and as was his children and as was the rest of the family. But I was with him all the time. And so I knew what every doctor was saying and I stayed, I was clean and sober through that period of time. And, off and on, I had some relapses, but I had gotten sober in 2003 from alcohol. And I was clean and sober basically for an 8-year period of time. And then I cycled in and out. But when my brother was sick, I was ostensibly clean most of that time. And when he died, it was a awful, my brother kind of connected us all in a way that it was almost impossible to imagine him not being that glue. I mean, it's the hardest thing of anything I've ever been through. And I know people are close to their brothers and sisters. It's not unique. But the only dream that I ever had, nightmare that I ever had as a kid was losing my brother. Like the one that you wake up in a cold sweat. And I did. And it was really difficult. And my wife of 20 years stopped talking to me. Maybe 20 years of reasons not to have a relationship, but it was pretty awful timing. And I fell apart, and I went to rehab.
Hold on. Cocaine paste, a crude extract of the coca leaf, which contains 40 to 91% cocaine sulfate, along with companion coca alkaloids and varying quantities of benzoic acid, methanol, and kerosene salts. Cocaine is a weakly alkaline compound, an alkaloid, and can therefore combine with acidic compounds of various salts. The hydrochloride salt of cocaine is by far the most commonly encountered. Okay. So I guess the stuff that you sniff or that is a hydrochloride salt of cocaine. Although the sulfate and the nitrate are occasionally seen, different salts dissolve to a greater or lesser extent in various solvents. The hydrochloride salt is polar in character and quite soluble in water. And then freebase. Freebase is the base form of cocaine as opposed to the salt form. It is practically insoluble in water, whereas hydrochloride salt is water soluble. This prevents cocaine in its basic form from being usable for sublingual usage and insulfation. I don't know either of those terms mean. Freebase cocaine can be treated with ethers, isopropyl alcohol, and hydrochloric acid to turn it into the salt form. And then crack refers to a lower purity form of freebase cocaine that is usually produced by neutralization of cocaine hydrochloride with a solution of baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, NaHCO3, and water, producing a very hard/brittle, off-white to brown colored amorphous material that contains sodium carbonate and trapped water and other byproducts as the main impurities. Smoking or vaporizing cocaine and inhaling it into the lungs produces an almost immediate high, can be very powerful and addictive. The initial buildup of stimulation is known as a rush. While the stimulating effects may last for hours, the euphoric sensation is very brief, prompting the user to smoke more immediately. There you go.
Almost immediately, and I stayed in rehab for a long time. Inpatient, outpatient, for close to a year, and between up in a place in Pennsylvania and then back in D.C. to be near my kids, and was not wanted by my ex-wife back in the house. And so for the first time in 46 years, I'm living alone. I don't have my brother. The rest of the family is in this awful state of grief. And we feel rudderless, I think, for the first time in my life. Completely rudderless. And anyway, long story short, is I kind of held it together for about a year, and almost exactly a year to my brother's death. And then I admitted that I slept out with a drink. And the doctor, the outpatient program that I was in, I was going to 4 times a day and getting tested. I said, look, I drank. He said, well, we want to test you anyway. And I said, if you test me, it becomes part of a record. And I don't want it as a part of a record because it's not protected by HIPAA. And he said, well, you can't come back in if we don't test you. And I said, well, this is what I did. And they said, it doesn't matter, you're telling us. And said, we need it for our records. I said, well, fuck you. And I walked out to the park across the street in Lincoln Park in D.C., which is not very far from the White House. Which
Lincoln
is,
Park?
I knew to be a kind of sometimes an open air, drug market. And I saw someone that I knew from my past life as being in the streets, a woman that I referred to as Bicycles. And I knew that it was kind of a suicidal thought. I said, do you got any crack? She sold me crack. And then that was it. From there, it just progressively got worse and worse.
What kind of places did it take you?
Physically, it took me to, geographically, it took me to some, the worst parts of any city, town, state that you've been through. And, I know that you've been through these places I've watched, but, it takes you to, metaphorically and literally, to the Super 8 motel off the highway, rooms for rent on an hourly or daily basis, for tens of dollars. And that's kind of where it takes you.
Takes you to public housing too.
Yeah, and not safe places. Places people live, but not safe places.
How long was the run for after you saw Bicycles?
And that was in 2016, and then June of 2016, but almost 3 years. Yeah. Now there were periods where I would stop. I would try to get help, or half try to get help, or appease people in my life and say that I was getting help. And so I did a whole host of different things to try to pull myself out of it. I did try, and people would come in and out of my web and try to help me, and my level of toxicity would drag them down until they would kind of disappear. And then people that would come into my life that were nothing but blood-sucking leeches that would literally saw vulnerability and latched on and drained me of literally every thing that I had, whether from emotional well-being to my physical well-being to my bank account. And that was the ebb and flow for almost 3 years until I met Melissa. The one thing that is true about it is that, as I said before, I met some people in that period of time that are living and have no escape. I had an escape, my family. I thought that I had burned all bridges. There was no exit. I was in a hotel in a big city, and I don't want to name it the city, and this drug dealer who had pretended kind of to be my friend, would organize these, things around me where they just would live off of me for like days at a time, and they'd get hotel rooms and they'd bring people in, and it'd be like a big party, and I would find myself invariably kind of like trapped in the room and kind of.
Did he say how old is he at this point when he's getting back together with Melissa?
Trotted out. To deal with hotel security or whatever at any time. Someone had given me something, and there was a spa tub, like a big hot tub pool, and they'd found me floating face down in the pool.
Jesus.
And this person saved me, and I woke up after about 12 hours where they just held me. My whole point of the story is that this person put themselves at an enormous risk to save my life for nothing other than to be human, because every single other person that was there, literally, they stole the shoes off my feet. Stole my clothes. I've gotten over the fact that, Matt Gaetz or Eric Trump is going to use this story as another, data point for how fucked up Hunter Biden is. But I don't give a shit anymore. And what I don't give a shit about is because people, even in the midst of their addiction, some people can be so incredible and generous and humane and caring. And, this person had literally nothing to gain, and I don't even know their name, but they saved my life, and they sat with me, and they nursed me back to health until I was good enough to be able to, get up and realize, but I mean, literally, for what? The most likely outcome for them was that the hotel, like, walk in and, and I was dead. And they get blamed for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess my point is that I think I was worth saving. And I think there's millions of people out there that are suffering from addiction that are worth saving.
You mentioned one thing earlier that I thought was pretty interesting, is that, you would take breaks throughout this period of time.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're in active addiction, especially, those tolerance breaks can give you the illusion of control. Because you're like, oh, I'm just going to chill for a bit.
It's the oldest story in the book.
I'm so good at, moderation. Wow, I'm the best. But in your mind, you're like, I'm chilling so that I can mentally be on board for the next bender.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm talking about?
100%. And I mean, it's the oldest story in the rooms, at least my experience, is that so many relapses start with the assumption that, like, well, look, I can smoke pot. Or, like, I can drink beer, which is not hard liquor. Or, I can drink, but I'm not going to use hard drugs. Or I can take prescription drugs and not drink.
Yeah.
And or like the very beginning, I remember when I first thought, like, maybe I should stop drinking so much. You'd say, well, you know what? I'm not going to drink for the month of January. And I don't know how many people that I know do that, but I would make it 10 days. And you say, well, I'm not going to drink for the first 10 days of January.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I'm not going to drink on weekdays in January. And then it's like, well, I'm not going to drink on Wednesdays in January. And it's like, fuck it. But yeah, you tell yourself that. And it's the same with any, you get 30 days away from the drug, but you haven't created any new habits. And you put yourself right back into the environment in which you were using. And all of your problems have just built up and built up and built up. And that anxiety comes crashing down on you. And you don't have any outlet other than your brain. And this is the thing that people don't understand, is this. Why do addicts drink and drug? Because it works.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Let's take a quick break here and look at the media coverage of Trump's executive order to cut funding for PBS and NPR across the U.S. A political move that will have massive ramifications for how the country is informed. As we know, different outlets push different agendas, shaping the story to fit their own narratives, which is why independent reporting matters, and we here at Channel 5 are 100% committed to bringing y'all raw,
how do we know what the real news
straight
is?
from the streets.
How can we
but
find
before
out?
we hit the streets, we get informed using what you might ask, ground news.
What?
Ground news is a dope-ass news aggregate that lets you see exactly how different media outlets, left, right, and center, are covering the same stories as they unfold. Here you can see, using the ground news bias distribution tool, how the left and right are covering Trump's executive order quite differently. For example, the left-leaning NBC News headline reads, "Public radio stations targeted for cuts by Trump offer lifelines to listeners during disasters," choosing to appeal to the humanity of their audience. Whereas you can see the right-wing outlet called The Federalist say, 12 reasons why NPR and PBS deserve to be defunded. Not too hard to see where they stand. Ground news, boom. Something else that doesn't get enough attention is how many news stories aren't actually newsworthy at all. That's why ground news shows you exactly how many actual sources are covering a specific story, so you can determine if an article is legit, real news, or just echo chamber algorithmic manipulation nonsense. Another feature we love to use, their blind spot tool, which shows you the stories that might not be appearing in your typical media bubble. For all those reasons, I trust Ground News to help Channel 5 and myself cut straight through the noise. And right now, you can subscribe for 40% off the Unlimited Access Vantage plan, which comes out to less than $5 a month. Just scan the QR code here or click the link below to sign up. Supporting Ground News means helping to support us, which means we can keep making videos like this, talking to Hunter Biden, and giving you guys coverage that isn't watered down or dictated by corporate interests. So check it out, stay informed, and most importantly, don't let the media tell you what to think. All right, back to Delaware.
Yeah, now tell us how to think.
Would drink because it would take care of what I believed in my rewired chemistry of my brain was telling me is that you're going to die from. Like, you cannot, like, you have to take care of this. And I know the fastest way to take care of it. The best way to take care of it is to drink or a drug. Unlearning that is a really, really difficult process.
Did you find that, a lot of addictions, especially, are kind of comorbid, they go with each other? So you said alcohol was one. Do you feel like drugs and alcohol, specifically like stimulants and alcohol, work really well together? Or
No, the number one gateway drug is weed. It is not alcohol, because alcohol is legal, so it can't be a gateway drug, okay? Remember that. Because alcohol is legal, it can never be a gateway drug, and weed is a Schedule I drug, which makes it one of the worst drugs ever. Worse than any opioid or any Schedule II or Schedule III, okay? Remember that, all right?
You ever find yourself smoking crack just without drinking?
No, it almost invariably. I've found with all the addicts I've had personal experience with over my life, whether it's the meth addicts with the benzodiazepams or the cocaine users with alcohol. I mean, really hardcore addicts, or when I say hardcore, what does that mean? And most people try to find like some kind of stasis in which they can withstand the downsides of whatever their addiction is, but it never works. And it always falls out of balance, and you always overdo one and don't prepare enough for another. Let's say this: alcohol causes more death and violence than every single other drug combined times 5.
Do you think a lot of that has to do with the normalization of alcohol culture, or do you think it's the substance itself?
Both.
Because it's like everywhere you go, you see.
So let me tell you about alcohol. One of the things, my dad never drank.
Can you imagine oh God, how did I forget his name? Not Mewtwo. The Toucher guy at Ludwig's party. If that guy was smoking crack, and they were like, "Let's go, one more puff." Mango, yeah, one more puff.
Brother never drank, really. And the reason that they didn't isn't because of some bad experience that they had with alcohol. It's because they witnessed what alcohol did in the lives of the people around them.
You're not talking about like Irish ancestral memory here.
I am, kinda.
Okay, cool. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, I really am. I'm talking about, like, I think it is in our bones. I look at my family tree, and one of the cool things about your dad becoming president is the Latter-day Saints, who have the largest database of genealogy in the world. I have this really, a lot of material on, both sides of the family, the Bidens, the Finnegans, the Hunters, and but mainly the Bidens and the Finnegans. And you go back, particularly on the Finnegan side, and you see Francis W. Finnegan died age 32, consumption. All these people that died age 39, left 4 children, consumption. And it's just a catch-all disease, and what it is it's alcoholism. You died of alcoholism. And the reason is alcohol is the only drug that impacts every single organ in your body. So from your brain to your liver to your kidney to your spleen, it enters your bloodstream, and it's the only drug that you can die from withdrawing from.
What about Xanax?
Except for benzodiazepines, which are in large quantities, you can die in because it has the same impact that alcohol does on your body. Because once you withdraw it from your body, it's the only drug, along with benzodiazepines, that can send you into seizures, because your body is saying, I need this to live. And so it has tricked it so conclusively that the sugars of those alcohol in every single organ scream out, and basically you have seizures and die. The way in which alcohol as a disinhibitor works, causes people to do some of the most ridiculous, fucked up things that you can possibly imagine. From what they do in terms of what they say, to the car that they get in and get behind the wheel, to the anger with which they respond. Most people with alcohol, it simply is an amplification of their worst qualities. And your worst quality, mine was never violence, and I'm not going to judge what my worst qualities were.
People are saying that consumption means tuberculosis as well, so I don't know.
But maybe there's delusions of grandeur. It's my worst things, but.
Late 2017 or early 2018, Hunter Biden spent $200,000 a month on luxury hotels, cash withdrawals, dental work, and Porsche. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. How do you spend money on a cash withdrawal? What does that mean? I guess they're just saying withdraw on his cash and spend on drugs. Dental work? He got dental work done every single month. Porsche? He bought a new Porsche every month? What?
But like that, it's.
Like, I feel like the Porsche is probably the biggest part of that, no? Or maybe they mean car payments? I don't know.
Were a really, really toxic mix.
For me, it's like extremely depressive nostalgia.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'll like hijack the touch tunes and play some song that makes me think of a different time.
Yeah.
I'll start getting really sad and talking about how I missed 2008. So your kind of most prolific bender was during the Trump era, between 2016 and 2020, which I think is
That's all of us, bro.
important to clarify, is not when your father was in the White House.
Exactly. 100% not. There's this conflation that people have. I mean, I think they're opening up an investigation to cocaine that was found in a cubby outside the West Wing of the White House.
I think it was Don Jr. Oh, you're talking about old White House.
Yeah, when my dad was there.
Oh, so they just got to blame you automatically.
Yeah, I mean, they're literally going to do an FBI, another congressional investigation, because they've convinced themselves that it had to be me, that there was a little tiny. And I guess my point of even bringing it up is that no. I have been clean and sober since June of 2019, and I have not touched a drop of alcohol or a drug, and I'm incredibly, incredibly proud of that.
And why would you bring cocaine to the White House?
Why would I bring cocaine to the White House, stick it into a cubby outside the Situation Room in the West Wing when I wasn't there? Anyway, who the fuck knows?
And politicians, I mean, they do blow, right?
I testified before the House Oversight, Judiciary, and Ways and Means Committee. It was a whole big family shindig on the Republican side. All of them showed up, from Marjorie Taylor Greene to Lauren Boebert to Matt Gaetz to, they're all sitting there. Now, none of them had the guts, except for a couple at the very end, to ask me any questions. At one point, in the 7 hours that I was being deposed, in which, by the way, I demanded that they do it in public, and they refused. And the reason is because they're fucking morons. Matt Gaetz, of all people, was giving me shit.
Wrong. It's not because they're fucking morons. It's because they want to be able to twist and selectively leak the things you say privately, and they don't want a full testimony in public. This is very intentional. It's not an accident at all. I'm sure he knows that. But.
About my drug use. I said, really? All the people at this table. You're going to talk to me about my addiction, my alcoholism? And I said, how many of you have had your own experience with alcoholism and addiction? Because I knew at least 4 or 5 people in that room on the Republican side that were in recovery. And I knew of 3 that have been accused credibly of being drug users. And I knew that every single one of them had somebody in their family that was absolutely facing a serious drug problem.
I think there might be a lack of understanding there, because they think that cocaine is fundamentally different from crack cocaine.
I don't know what they know. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, because they think cocaine, Scarface, very cool. Crack cocaine, they think The Wire.
oh, in that sense, oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like they don't know how
absolutely.
similar the chemical compounds are.
Well, the only difference between crack cocaine and cocaine is sodium bicarbonate and water and heat. Literally,
That's it?
That's it.
And those things are pretty much free if you go to like a science store.
This is free.
I don't want to contradict a professional drug user, but the method of delivery is actually pretty important, I think, when it comes to addictive quality of a drug. So, for instance, like methamphetamine, like if you're just taking just methamphetamine, theoretically, that's the same type of like active drug as what you might get like with like Adderall or Vyvanse or whatever else. But things that get you high immediately and get you very high are going to have a different addiction profile than a thing that doesn't get you high immediately. Cocaine is probably fairly addictive as well, but I think the big thing for crack cocaine, the nice thing about, because crack cocaine, you smoke it, right? I think that smoking is generally considered to be like the fastest delivery, except for maybe injecting. I don't know anything about, I don't do any of that. But I think if you inhaling shit, you're gonna get high like fucking very, 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 very fast. And so the addiction profile looks a little bit different on that than something where this chart kind of had it. Then if you take something and it takes you a little bit longer to get, high.
Heat, literally.
That's it? And those things are pretty much free if you go to like a science store.
This is free.
Isn't cocaine a stimulant and crack cocaine a downer? When I watch Snowfall, it seemed like a downer. I'm pretty sure, I mean, they are the same drug. I think crack cocaine is still a stimulant, no?
You can go to a...
It's the same. I don't know what would, if the sodium bicarbonate or whatever turns it into a downer, but I'm pretty sure they're all stimulants.
Your neighborhood convenience store and just get, anyway, I don't want to tell people how to make crack cocaine, but it literally is a mayonnaise jar, cocaine, and baking soda.
How different is the experience?
It's vastly, vastly different. And like for real.
No, not Adderall. Ritalin is chemically identical to meth. Adderall is time release. Nothing you said there is correct. So Adderall is not time release. Adderall is basically instant. Adderall XR is kind of time release because they code it in a thing that your body has to digest. Ritalin is methylphenidate. It's not methamphetamine at all. And but yeah, whether or not Adderall is time release or not just has to do with the coding on the little tablets. That's why Adderall XR is quote unquote time release. And then Vyvanse has the attached lysine thing that your liver, I think, has to digest or remove from the dextroamphetamine.
I feel really reluctant to kind of have some euphoric discussion. I know you're not asking me to do that, but have some euphoric discussion about crack cocaine.
I think this might be kind of the opposite here.
Okay, no, it's the exact opposite. I'm saying I don't want to have the experience of some euphoric recall. That's how powerful crack cocaine is. Does crack cocaine make you act any differently? No. Is it safer than alcohol? Probably. People think of crack as being dirty. It's the exact opposite. When you make crack, what you're doing is you're burning off all the impurities so that it combines with the sodium bicarbonate, which makes it smokable. That's all. You know, all of these actors and, you know, people in the past that talked about they had a problem with cocaine and freebasing. They were smoking crack.
So straw on the stove is the same thing?
Not exactly, but close to it. But it's a little bit different. But anyway, my point about it, your point about it, which I think is true, is that there's a thing about crack that is really insidious. And what it is that anytime, I think one of the reasons that they believe that smoking cigarettes is so addictive is because it combines three really important things. It's habit forming, there's an oral fixation, and there is a ritual combined with it. And so the idea of hand to mouth is a habit and a fixation that we learn very early, even as children. With a pacifier, with a spoon, with your thumb, even to breastfeeding. Okay, so really, I don't want to get into the psychology of it because I'm no expert, but I do know this, is that you combine with that ignition, combustion, and then you combine the ritual. You have your cigarette in the morning, you have your cigarette when you get out of the car, you have your cigarette with your coffee. Crack is that on steroids. It's over and over. There's ritual to it. There's a ritualized part of it. The combination of all of those addictive behaviors together becomes like really powerful. And the drug in and of itself is a more immediate euphoric.
See, people talk about boofing. I have never in my entire life heard of anybody boofing anything ever outside of Reddit and Twitter. Has anybody ever been at where were these? Maybe it was different also. I'm 36. Did anybody go to a high school party or some college party? Be like, oh shit, like go to the back, bro. That's where they're shoving the alcohol in your fucking ass. Were people doing that? What? I've never heard of ass drugs as a method of delivery ever. Maybe some people do. The only drug I've ever boofed in my entire life is creatine, baby. Hell yeah. Your muscles instantly get
sensation and connected to it than, in my experience, cocaine alone.
Does it require more frequency to maintain the high?
Yes. And the capacity to use more than you could otherwise with powder cocaine, just physically to be able to ingest it.
So you're kind of saying that cocaine reaches a certain plateau of euphoria, where you can't necessarily get any higher?
In my experience, yes. This is like a PSA. If you want to, connected to it, then in my experience, a combination of all of those addictive behaviors, it's all together becomes like really powerful. And the drug in and of itself is a more immediate euphoric sensation and connected to it than, in my experience, cocaine alone.
Does it require more frequency to maintain the high?
Yes. Yes. And the capacity to use more than you could otherwise with powder cocaine, just physically to be able to ingest it.
So you're kind of saying that cocaine reaches a certain plateau of euphoria where you can't necessarly get any higher?
In my experience, yes. This is like a PSA. If you want to completely, utterly fuck up your life, I don't think that anything is necessarily, you do it once you're addicted. But there's about the closest thing that statement can be true would be with crack cocaine.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the impact in communities in the inner city in the 80s, it led to an entire generation being destroyed, left without parental guidance and stuff like that.
When I went to Yale Law School, and I had a professor, Duke, who was one of the key voices in the country at the time from a policy perspective and a law perspective about the inequities of our drug laws. And you could very much make an argument that, by the way, the Clinton crime bill that my dad helped architect was the consequences of what you call the crack wars during those period of time. The result of the war against crack cocaine, or was it the result of the crack cocaine itself? I'm not saying that crack in and of itself is in any way safe or recommended, but the response to it, I think, was far more destructive in those communities than the actual drug itself.
You got to be careful for this crime bill stuff, and maybe there might be an argument to be made about crack or whatever, but like the reason why this crime bill passed, and the reason why all of America wanted this crime bill was because like drugs and violence were legitimately just, like ravaging a lot of these communities. You have to be careful trying to like retrospectively apply like today's framing. Like the 90s was the worst in U.S. history for violent crime.
Which, by the way, like all drugs, all addictions, are completely dependent upon the way in which a community responds to them. Nobody gets clean and sober without community. Nobody gets clean and sober without support. If, the response is, met with just violence from the dealing to the destruction, I don't,
Do you think that, like, looking back at the crime bill and stuff, your dad and that kind of...
Oh, yeah. I mean, my point was, when I was at Yale, I wrote my senior analytical thesis was on the disparity between crack and powder cocaine sentencing. That was in 1996, in which, we knew then. And, that's when my dad became president. He did away with all of that. And I think that Obama did part of it, and he eradicated it all. And then he pardoned almost everybody at the very end of his administration that had been swept up and was still in prison as related to those disparities in federal sentencing. Obviously, he has no control of the state, but hundreds of people were commuted sentences and were pardoned.
And you feel like your paper at Yale kind of helped implant that idea in his mind and help forward that cause?
No, I don't think he remembers my paper at Yale more than anybody remembers my paper at Yale. I think I'm the only one who remembers my paper at Yale. But I do know this, is that at the very end, I was the only thing that I can say that I truly weighed in on with my dad was on that level. And he was pushing on an open door. I think people forget the historic record number of people that he pardoned based upon the drug laws.
Also, he pardoned Leonard Peltier, or commuted his sentence from life imprisonment in Florida to house arrest at the Turtle Mountain Reservation.
I was never more proud of my dad. And again, literally, the only things that I advocated for were those things.
Peltier and the sentencing reform.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just did a report up in North Dakota about his homecoming event, and it was definitely interesting. I didn't think it would happen.
Hey guys, here's a quick preview of our upcoming episode that's being referenced called Leonard Peltier Comes Home.
Today is a victorious day as our relative is here in the flesh.
President Joe Biden commuted the life sentence of Leonard Peltier.
The 79-year-old has served nearly 50 years in prison after being convicted for the 1975 killing of 2 FBI agents.
A young man who's spending his life in prison for something he almost certainly did not do.
Leonard Peltier and others killed Williams and Collier in cold blood on the reservation because they happened to be there at the wrong place at the wrong time.
He's considered by a lot of people to be America's longest serving political prisoner.
People today don't understand the FBI of 73. They went after Martin Luther King. It is in that context that Peltier was gone after.
The Peltier group, who could have just driven away, came to the agents' cars, Williams and Collier, and killed them both at point blank. I think I speak for all FBI agents. It's a kick in the balls. That's, yeah.
I know in my heart I never killed nobody.
Howdy there, Jake Fowler here with the C5 crew in beautiful Belcourt, North Dakota, homelands of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians. Right now, we're standing at the entrance to the casino here.
Only Gen Z would interview a crackhead and respect him, and only MAGA would elect a rapist and worship him.
And they're hosting an amazing event to honor the longest held political prisoner in the United States, Leonard Peltier. So let's check it out.
My spirit name is One Who Carries a Light. Turtle Mountain, born and raised, just here to celebrate Leonard Peltier coming home. There's a town that you enter before you come into the Turtle Mountains. We got word that there was all sorts of community members who stood out on the side of the road, children, elders, probably 20 below, maybe even colder with the wind, and they're out there fist high cheering on Leonard, and it was a powerful moment.
If you could describe today in one word, what word would that be?
Coming today. Thank you, Turtle Mountain.
I wish to be described. Someone that loves these people.
Thank you for inviting us.
So I've been studying his case, and you have to realize there are elements that were inside of the FBI that still, to the very end, were very threatening. Said that there would be huge consequences within that community of the former and current FBI agents who still firmly believe that Leonard Peltier was responsible for the death of that agent. Anyway, so I knew an inordinate amount about the case and had studied the case. I was in a course of a guy named Stephen Bright, who ran the Southern Center for Human Rights, not the Southern Poverty Law Center. Two different organizations, same purpose, but the Southern Center for Human Rights, which mainly dealt with representing people on death row. One of the cases that we touched on, because I don't think Leonard was ever taken off of death row. Anyway, we worked on Hurricane Carter's case, and I became friendly with Stephen Bright, who's a leading expert in unjustly imprisoned people. And so we studied Leonard's case. I was really, really, really proud, because it was a really courageous thing that I think that my dad did by letting him out. And I think some people take it for granted that, well, why wouldn't the president do that? It was the right thing to do. He was 80, blah, blah, blah. Because you have a lot of really, really powerful people that can really mess with your life, and particularly in this atmosphere, by doing the right thing.
What do you think is the biggest inconsistency in the government's case against Peltier?
The two cases that were held against his two accomplices, who both were acquitted, and the lack of evidence that was allowed in Leonard's case as related to the lead up to that event on Pine Ridge, where the tribal police force, along with the FBI, had basically created a goon squad. And over 60 individuals had been tribal members and living on the reservation. I think it was over 60 had been murdered by this goon squad, had been taken out. Or was it 60 or 16? I can't remember the exact numbers. But they were on a mission, basically backed by the FBI. And the judge never allowed all of that information, which they had got, into the case when Leonard was tried. And I can't remember all the other inconsistencies. But one of the things that also is that the woman that they said was Leonard's girlfriend, when they were able to extradite him from Canada to the United States, they used her testimony to justify the extradition from Canada. Once they got him back, she completely recanted and said that she was basically threatened by the FBI to say that she was Leonard Peltier's girlfriend and that she witnessed the whole thing.
Federal judge sentences ex-officer to nearly 3 years in prison for using excessive force during the deadly raid of Breonna Taylor's apartment in 2020. I wonder which officer was sentenced. One of these officers, this is just the most wild thing in the universe to me. I can't talk about how I think you could respond to this because it would be counted as Fed posting. Okay, so unfortunately, I can understand both sides' reactions when it comes to the cops at the door. So cops were serving a no-knock warrant so they can break down the door, right? So cop is here. Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, I don't know, is in a hallway or something here. They break down this door. I think he fires first, hits an officer. I think they return fire, and somehow as they're shooting into here, I guess Breonna Taylor's in bed, and I think she gets killed. There was an officer who is outside in the parking lot who saw things going on and just starts shooting into the apartment from outside. Why? It was just the most random imagine you're looking outside and there's some cop shooting at an apartment. It's sir, what are you shooting at? He's I don't know. There's just shit going on in there. She was shooting too, I thought. No, I don't think she was in bed. I don't think she was shooting. I think she was just behind her boyfriend, and I think she caught a bullet from the officers returning fire, I believe is what happened. But this guy's shooting from outside. This is of all the, I can understand the cop shooting at the door. I can understand the boyfriend shooting outside the bedroom. That's the one that got sentenced? Oh, good. Okay. That guy's just insane. Timestamp of the retard.
Curtains are drawn. Hankinson blindly fires 5 bullets through the patio windows.
My only option was to return fire, and I did that to the muzzle flashes.
He moves and fires 5 more rounds through the bedroom window of Taylor's sister, who isn't home. 2 bullets fly over Walker and Taylor, but none hits them. The bullets that go into the living area pass over Taylor's sofa and kitchen table and smash her clock. 3 penetrate the wall and enter her...
What the fuck are you even doing? It's an apartment. There's so many different innocent people that could just get shot. It's just such a fourth rule of handling firearms. Not good. Not good. Where's my Subway sponsorship? Yeah, he had no other choice. I had to start blasting. I was going to miss it on all the action, guys.
In fact, they hardly even knew each other. She had lived on the reservation but didn't have any relationship to Leonard. But there's a whole bunch of other inconsistencies.
On a deeper level, what do you think it was about Leonard that scared the federal government in such capacity?
You know, that's a good question. If you believe...
Dustin, you are so wrong about the difference between meth and amphetamines. What am I so wrong? I'm pretty sure they're very, very, very similar in function. The only difference is I think methamphetamine, I think, can penetrate the blood-brain barrier a bit easier because of the methyl group. I don't know exactly why. But otherwise, the impact, I think, is very, very, very similar.
Leonard.
Similar to identical, I think, once the methyl thing has been removed. Tectone, what? We didn't, like I said, there were probably points where Al-Qaeda was involved. There were probably points where Al-Qaeda was involved, and they still are involved to some extent. I think they still have like 100 square meters of like a...
Yeah, so the thing about that is...
This is the thing that's so tragic about Destiny is, obviously Destiny's on his crash out arc, but I love Destiny so much whenever he's tackling Hassan's points. And that's the real shame. I really wish Destiny would allow himself to not be miserable for one day so he could see how many people want to give him a chance and be cool.
Do you think that at this point, if he was blindfolded, do you think that Tectone would be able to immediately identify the difference in taste between Donut Operator's loads and Brandon Ferrero's loads or whatever? Like, do you think he's gotten to that point yet? Or would he still need to have like at least like an audio cue of them grunting while they stroke off into his open fucking mouth? I wonder if, because I don't know how long they've been together, how long he's spent on his knees for him yet, but I'm just curious.
And then you had to understand the rest of the story of what the federal government was doing.
$100 dono! Please cover the reason for the crack epidemic in the U.S. in the 90s. If you don't know, look in Iran Counter. Oh, don't worry, I know. It's because the FBI ran into all the neighborhoods and gave everybody crack cocaine. I got it. I got it!
So they were systematically murdering members of an organization that were setting out to highlight the injustice that was occurring on reservations across the country. I think that we are in such a ahistorical, is that even the term, time right now? I know why they want to erase history. I know why they don't want to teach about the actual history of this country. Because to do so makes a lie out of almost everything that they are trying to achieve. And how could anyone see the way in which Native Americans then and now are treated on Pine Ridge by the federal government to the degree that they basically paid for and implemented a program to systematically murder those that were simply speaking the truth? Our government, the FBI. By the way, they were able to do much of it at his... But all of the documentation was available. All of the communications were available at the time of the trial. And the judge wouldn't allow that information to be shared with the jury.
You know what I just realized? Republicans were just born in the wrong era. MAGA, you know how people look back to the era of like knights and shit and they're like, I wish I could have been a knight with Milady and I was born in the wrong era, XD. If like MAGA would have just been born in like the 60s and 70s, our CIA and our FBI were legitimately up to a lot of like fucking wild and wacky shit. There would have been so many more great conspiracies for them to actually sink their teeth into. Instead of today, it's just like the most retardedly stupid shit in the universe. They were born in like wrong generation, XD.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at the bigger picture, American Indian movement was just one of many groups they were targeting.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe one of like 150.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 40, 50 years later, what has it been? How long was it, Leonard, in 48?
Something like 50.
Yeah, almost exactly 50 years, I think, right? 75. Why do we still hold on to that? Because it still makes a lie. I don't believe in conspiracy theories in the sense of I don't believe that the government has the capacity to carry out a conspiracy. You know, a secret plan. It's all in the open, man. There's no conspiracy behind what ICE agents are doing in the streets of Los Angeles, you know, right now. Or, by the way, in the streets of Detroit or Chicago or Philadelphia or Tampa or whatever the hell they are, is that they're openly terrorizing people for the purpose of scaring the shit out of them. You know, people look at this moment in time and they get this
Why won't Hunter just be honest and tell us what his DGG account is, okay?
I used to think it was hyperbole. I'm not so sure now. And the comparisons to 1930s and 1939 and 1932 and Kristallnacht and this is the time and are we before this, are we after this? And you know, I look at what we're going through right now as more associated with a moment in our own history, which was Reconstruction.
You're talking about, for reference, after the Civil War.
Yes, from 1865 to 1877. What people don't understand about Reconstruction is that we just fought the Civil War. All of the freedoms which the Constitution.
Can I just say that I hate the fucking fact that this guy knows more about everything than the entire Trump family combined? With the exception of, oh, whoa, never mind, hold on, I'm sorry. Kushner isn't Trump's son, no? He's, he married one of Trump's daughters, right? Kushner was, it seems like an intelligent person. But he's like married to in-law, yeah, okay, yeah, he must be, because nothing that comes from that genetic stock can have a higher IQ than 85. It's unbelievable. Unreal, dude. Can we go back to the corruption from like Trump 1 from his first term? Because at least he was mistakenly choosing people that had some level of competency. Like Jared Kushner, love him or hate him, or regardless, whatever, right? And I have so many criticisms of the Abraham Accords. However, could you imagine fucking Don or fucking Eric or whatever negotiating the Abraham Accords? Can you imagine fucking Eric Trump on stage talking about anything in the Middle East? Like at all? Like, it's unbelievable.
Was guaranteed for black citizens that had just been released from slavery. And people think there was this great migration, it all fell apart.
Can you imagine Trump talking about Reconstruction? He's like, what do you mean? Did one of my buildings fall over? Do you remember when Trump was in front of the fucking, oh my God, this was in the first term, or was it the second one? Wait, Trump talks about liberalism, United Nations, kill me, wait. They asked him about like the state of like Western liberalism, and Trump doesn't know what liberalism is. He doesn't know what liberalism means. He thought that they meant like the liberals on the West Coast, and he starts rambling about fucking California. About fucking California. What the fuck? 6 years ago. Okay, this was in Trump 1.
My very first sim was a Logitech entry-level wheel. That's kind of where Logitech really came in because they broke the boundaries of reality to simulation, and you get to live it every single day because of sim.
Jimmy Carter, look, he was a nice man. He was a terrible president. He's a Democrat, and it's a typical talking point. He's loyal to the Democrats, and I guess you should be. But as everybody now understands, I won not because of Russia, not because of anybody but myself. I thought that...
Wrong clip, sorry. Retard.
The Zebra finds you savings on auto insurance that no one else can.
Hi.
Up to $400 a year. Please don't spend it on speeding tickets. The Zebra. We do the searching, you do the saving.
Okay.
Lost very serious consideration. That was Russia went through a lot. They lost, I guess, far more than anybody fighting the Nazis in terms of people. And he did invite me, and I said we would get back, but we will give that very serious consideration.
His comments to the Financial Times right before arriving here was that Western-style liberalism is obsolete. I know you probably haven't read the interview.
Well, again, he may feel that way. I mean, he sees what's going on, and I guess if you look at what's happening in Los Angeles, where it's so sad to look, and what's happening in San Francisco and a couple of other cities, which are run by an extraordinary group of liberal people.
Kill me. Fucking kill me. Actually fucking kill me. Trump won. How fucking retarded? How actually fucking retarded do you have to be? The leader of the free world, president of the United States of America. When he said Western liberalism, he thought he meant like liberalism on the West Coast, like Seattle, LA, San Francisco.
I don't know what they're thinking, but he does see things that are happening in the United States that would probably preclude him from saying how wonderful it is.
Why does Trump need to talk like that and the stupid best and greatest ever beautiful ticks? They're not ticks. It's because he doesn't know the details of anything, right? Ask me how Conor McGregor's performance was at his last fight. He had the best and most beautiful punches, and he's just one of the greatest fighters of all time. He just has he's a terrific, tremendous performer. I don't know. You just say shit when you don't know anything.
Black population, because of the weight of slavery or whatever other excuse you want to make, kind of fell into this communities of poverty and disenfranchisement, blah, 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 blah. Total bullshit. Yeah. Between 1865 and 1877, the South Carolina state legislature was a majority black.
I was going to say the state senate that was, I think at the time based in Charleston, was almost all black.
Yeah, all black. And on top of that, because by the way, it's a vast majority African-American state after the Civil War in South Carolina. You know, and by the way, which was where the first slaves were delivered in the 1600s, right there in Charleston. And so what happened after the Civil War? This amazing thing, this amazing renaissance. These people that jumped in, that had been in slavery for over 200 years. These communities are thriving. And then you have in, what was it, Colfax, Louisiana.
Is that where the first Klan started?
Not where the first Klan started, but the first major lynching occurred in the sense of this, is that you had in Colfax, Louisiana, you had black lawmakers that had gone in to secure the vote in this little town in the courthouse. And white supremacists surrounded the courthouse and they rolled up a cannon and they said, we're going to kill all of you unless you come out and give up this effort to, you know, and they're all wearing masks. Part of them were the local law enforcement. And so the black leadership comes out and they murder them all. And then they go on a rampage and they kill 105 African Americans in Colfax, a little town in Louisiana. What happens? Nothing. So the U.S. government doesn't do anything. The Union troops throughout the South won't take any action. Local law enforcement in the state does not prosecute any of the people. And then the federal government does prosecute a number of the people, but the Jim Crow Supreme Court overturns their convictions. So nothing gets done. So what ends up happening? That happens all across the South, all across the country, is this campaign of violence, a campaign of intimidation. And by the way, remember, how many states at that time? 16 states, 18 states at the time? You had 14 members of Congress that were black. You had 2 United States senators that were black between 1865 and 1877. And then the door shuts, because everybody gave in to the corruption of the Supreme Court, the corruption of the president, Johnson ripping the rug out from under the entirety of Lincoln's Reconstruction plan. All achieved through violence, corruption, and making a complete and utter mockery of the Constitution.
And there's also this perception, if you look at whenever segregation on public transport was...
Thanks, Lost Girls 27. This guy is legitimately, he knows more about U.S. history than the entire Trump cabinet, plus Trump, although that doesn't add anything, but...
A fight with Plessy versus Ferguson, I think it was in 1902. There's this perception because of the voting records at that time that most people supported it. People don't understand, or some people do, but the Klan emerged as a voter intimidation force. It wasn't just simply terror for terror's sake, that was a part of it, but it was to specifically target black area polling stations, voting booths.
It did. And by the way, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. Whether it's voter suppression through violence and intimidation or disinformation, it's the same goddamn thing. It's whether it's an algorithm or whether it's a cross burning in your yard. That is what we have fought. We are caught in this loop. It's like the permanent Reconstruction loop, okay? The permanent Jim Crow loop is that every single time that we get closer to that idea, that promise, that potential of a more perfect union, what ends up fucking happening is they come in and they shut the door down because there's this evil symbiosis between money and power. So what do? If I said to you, look, I'm going to tell you a story from the past. It's about a minority group of people that live in a country. It's constitutional democracy that has had its problems in the past, but it's an economic powerhouse, and it is the center of learning, it's the center of culture, it has a deep and rich history. But there is a minority group that those in power, that came into power through democratically elected means, are going to target this minority group because they're stealing all the jobs.
Today, our cities are flooded with illegal aliens. Americans are being squeezed out of the labor force and their jobs are taken.
They're not originally citizens. They're not the original people.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you.
On top of that, they're spreading disease and distrust. And they're criminals. And they can be violent. They're eating your dogs and cats.
They're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
And what we're going to do...
Like, this was that was more unhinged than anything I've ever heard Joe Biden say in his entire presidency. That any stumble, than any, blunder, whatever, like, Kamala's literally laughing at him. And then all of this was fake. And J.D. Vance even said as much. Listen, if we have to use a fake issue to get Americans to care about real issues, that's
dogs and cats.
Unreal. How do you survive this? Unless your party just doesn't care.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to,
But it
if
wasn't
I have
just a
to
meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you
it's Vosh.
Guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast.
You just said that this is a story that you
Yes.
created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it. I didn't create 20,000 illegal migrants coming into Springfield thanks to Kamala Harris's policies. Her policies did that, but yes, we created the actual focus that allowed the American media to talk about the story and the suffering caused by Kamala Harris's policies.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
And what we're going to do is we're going to send mass men to this marginalized group, and we are going to take them, put them on planes, put them on buses, put them on trains, and send them to a prison camp in a foreign country. What am I describing right then? Am I describing Germany? Or am I describing the United States right now? Because I will tell you what, if you think that the prison in El Salvador is not a fucking concentration camp, you're out of your fucking mind. Tell me.
At least in Nazi Germany times, you had to conquer the fucking country to make them take your Jewish victims, as opposed to El Salvador just getting $6 million to take them. Jesus.
Anybody that's returning from there. You saw those pictures. You think anybody's getting out of there? Is it a rehabilitation center? You think I've been to those places in South Sudan and around in those areas? You think anybody's getting out of those South Sudan prisons? Ever? Ever? Out of your fucking mind. That's a death camp. They're done. They're over. And if you're not dead, you would want to be dead if you were in that prison. And we just sent a bunch of people without due process, some of them most likely legally in the United States. Like, I think of that poor guy that they said was a gang member because he had a tattoo on his arm that was a makeup artist. And they say he's MS-13. He literally a makeup artist that fled, I think, I'm making it up.
To be fair, he did have, it was MS. He did have, the letters MS and then 13 on his fingers, remember? Real tattoo, by the way. It just looks photoshopped from this angle. I hate boomers so much. I actually hate boomers. When they were saying, don't, at the very least, my schooling should have been easier, okay? My schooling should have been easier because we were banned from using internet sources. We were banned from using fucking magazines online. You had to get the physical fucking magazine. You can't use internet sources, guys, because you guys are too fucking retarded to tell what's right and what's wrong. You're too fucking stupid to know what's real or what's not. You guys are using .coms when you should be using .orgs, and God forbid some of you using .nets because you know you're retarded. And now that we're older, it's the boomers that believe every random fucking thing they see online. Every random thing they see, they believe. Holy shit. It wasn't a warning. It was a fucking prophecy.
Venezuela because of a dictator and came to the United States and sought asylum, received asylum, and they literally take this poor guy and they pick him up and he has a family and he has friends and he has an entire community and they give him no due process and they put him on a plane with maybe a bunch of other criminals and send him to that fucking hellscape. He's dead and nobody gives a shit. And I mean it. Like, we sit here and we talk about the one guy because there's a clear legal path to being able to get him back. What about all those other people? Am I not supposed to feel for someone? Am I going to be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration? Fuck you. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your fucking table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your fucking garden? Who do you think is here by the fucking sheer fucking just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance? And
true. That one girl shouldn't have walked it back on The View, but because they're kind of progressive, she cucked herself and she was like, fuck. Because she was like, Donald Trump, who do you think is cleaning your toilets? And then they were all like, ooh, no. Actually, illegal immigrants work all sorts of wonderful jobs in the United States. And then she had to walk back from it. I can't find it. I don't care. Never mind. You know what I'm talking about.
He's somehow convinced all
Kelly
of us
Osbourne?
that these people are the fucking criminals. White men in America are 45 more times likely to commit a fucking violent crime than an immigrant. And the media says, well, you got David Axelrod and, Rahm fucking Emanuel. So fucking smart, Rahm Emanuel. And so we got to understand that these people are really mad. And we got to appeal to these white voters. Rahm, the only people that fucking appealed to those fucking white voters was Joe Biden, 81 years old. And he got 81 million votes. And he did not because he appeased their fucking Trumpian sense, but because he challenged it. And he said, you can be an 81-year-old Catholic from fucking Scranton that doesn't understand it, but still has has empathy for transgender people and immigrants. Then nobody said, oh, Joe Biden's going to turn us into a socialist state, no matter how much they said it. But these guys think that we need to run away from all values in order for us to lead. I say, fuck you. How are we getting those people back from fucking El Salvador? Because I'll tell you what, if I became president in 2 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 3 years from now, I would pick up the phone and call the fucking president of El Salvador and say, you either fucking send them back or I'm going to fucking invade. It's a fucking
A! Never mind, I changed what I said earlier. I would vote for him.
Crime, what they're doing. He's a fucking dictator thug.
Bukele or Trump?
Both.
You wouldn't even have to, by the way, you wouldn't even have to say that. This would be like a Reagan election, Iran hostage deal, where if a Democrat president came in and made it known, it would be like the inauguration is happening and the plane is in the background with everybody coming back. The idea that the Trump admin tried to be so cucked and say, oh, we can't get any of those people back. They're being held by the mighty nation state of El Salvador, by the world power, the empire of El Salvador. We can't challenge their or contest their military might, their abilities to capture and hold people indefinitely. There's no way we could get those people back.
Yeah. The craziest thing to me, especially interviewing migrants and like hearing about the journey they went through to get here, you got some people who walked for 30 days through the deserts of Mexico into the Arizona desert in 110-degree hot summer. Their feet are bleeding. They have a gallon of water.
Getting owned last election has broken Stephen. Endless whiny whinging. The funny thing is that you guys are crying. You're not even crying about the 2020 election right now. You guys are crying about Obama from 2016. You guys are digging up tears from decades past right now.
There's people dropping dead while they're walking who they physically cannot stop to help because they are so determined, and because the coyotes trafficking them will kill them if they stop too. And they finally get to the U.S. just to do menial labor. And you have people saying, like, do it the right way. It's like, trust me, if there was an easier way, they would have done anything but that. And secondly, I feel like anybody who goes to that length to get here deserves to fucking be here. I mean, deserves to be an American. Like, we didn't do shit to get here. I mean, I'm sure at some point, like...
I don't use this argument because conservatives are just so mind rotted against it, but it is true, okay? Legal immigrants did way more to be here than your fucking ass did. You were lucky you got born here, shut the fuck up, and be happy, okay?
Our great-grandparents did get on the boat from Ireland and were like, fuck, I don't know what's going to be over there. But it wasn't like the grueling conditions that people experience on the way here. And it's just the lack of humanity, and also the lack of understanding as to how American corporations economically dominate those countries, and how U.S. intervention has created unlivable conditions there too.
And are the incredible beneficiaries of that new blood that enters our bloodstream year after year after year. The only thing that makes us different from fucking China or Russia or anywhere else or Europe or anywhere, and the only reason that I believe that we as America are different beyond the fact of the idea of the Constitution, the idea that we represent, is immigration. And I can't even believe sometimes I'm having this discussion with anybody. How do you think that we are reborn every generation? How do you think that we attract the smartest people in the world to the United States of America? Through immigration. I mean, you sit here and, I mean, like, just think about it. You got some motherfucker who's made over, what, $251 billion being a United States citizen that got here and stayed here illegally before he got his citizenship, sitting here lecturing us on who we should allow into the United States of America and giving us a fucking Heil Hitler along the way. Are you fucking kidding me?
And talking about how gangs are like a threat that's going to come here from other places. I'm like, MS-13 started in a Koreatown in LA.
Yeah,
not to mention,
exactly.
like, the U.S. prison system invented gangs.
Yes.
Like, we are basically like the creators of worldwide gang warfare. Like, the styles, basically everything about it. And so it's just crazy the idea that, like, we're going to build a wall.
I'm not 100% sure how true that is.
Yeah.
To keep gang members out. Yeah, 21 Savage is on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, exactly. Or, you know, or we sit here and watch Sons of Anarchy. It's just such bullshit. It's just such racism. It's just so easy pickings, and it just makes me so angry. Have you read the quote?
Oh my God. Turn off the stream if you can't handle cringe for a second.
I like your cut, bro. Where'd you get it?
I honestly don't know. My girlfriend bought it for me.
Yeah? You ride any motorcycles? You do? What do you ride?
Harley 2000, V2000.
A V2000 Harley. You ride in a club? No?
Nope, just here for my friends.
Anyone ever said anything to you about that?
About what?
That vest?
Occasional people here and there.
Anybody on another motorcycle say anything to you?
No, not really.
You should be real careful wearing that.
That's what I've heard.
I should take it from you right now, but it's the middle of the daytime. Just letting you know, though, you shouldn't fucking wear that.
Alright.
because you didn't earn it. There's a lot of people that died to wear patches on the back of their vest. And the Sons of Anarchy one, you're spitting in their face.
Just a TV show, though.
It is just a TV show. And you riding around shits on everybody that fucking worked their ass off for it.
Could you imagine going up to some dude that's wearing like a... Are there gyms in Naruto? Like a headband from the fucking Naruto gym? And you're like, you better take off that headband, son. You haven't practiced any of your ninjutsus? I've never seen the anime, but you know what I mean, right? Is Sons of Anarchy a real motorcycle? No. No, it's a TV show. It's a fucking TV show!
Letting you know. This is going to be basically your warning. But it's a nice present from her. I get it. But for your own sake, I'm giving you a freebie right now that you shouldn't wear that.
Thank you for the warning.
There's a lot of guys out there that do ride for real clubs that this conversation would go a lot different. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time. So I should take it from you right now. But you don't really look like you knew, so I'm going to give you your one warning. But at least that way you know that if someone does stop you and you get your fucking face kicked in, at least that way you know why. So just an FYI. Just figured I'd let you know. It's Emmett, Idaho. There's not a lot of people here. Not a lot of people that ride in clubs in this general area, but, I'm just letting you know that for future sake, especially if your chick's with you, it's probably not good if you get your face stomped in front of your chick, but, I'm just letting you know that you may want to take that off. Just because it's not respectable. Like, you might be a respectable guy, but putting that on is a disrespectful move for the people who are on motorcycles.
I can understand that.
So if you could actually do me a huge favor and take that off right now and just put it in your back seat or something, or put it in your trunk, that'd be awesome. Come off like a dick, because I'm in a nice mood right now. But if this were any other time, someone would definitely yank that shit from you, and the conversation would be a lot less friendly.
Yeah, I completely understand.
So, it's a nice gift, I get it, but hang it on your wall and don't ever wear it in public, because you're asking for trouble, basically. So I appreciate you doing that. You have a good one.
From Dietrich Bonhoeffer?
No, it's a cool name, though. I wish it was my name.
Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a philosopher in the 30s in Germany. He fled Germany, but he went back to be part of the resistance inside of Germany against the Nazis. He was a devout Christian, a real intellectual writer and thinker about...
Just so you know, when people talk about fighting against the elites, this is what they were talking about. This is what MAGA and the Trumples are talking about. They're talking about people that went to school, got an education, and know some history. These are the elites that they're mentioning, okay?
How to apply the principles of Christ in your everyday life and in society. And he wrote this piece about the Third Reich. And of course, he was imprisoned and murdered by the SS. And he wrote this quote, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically it says, is that the real problem, and he was obviously was in the context of what was happening in the world at that time, is not evil. And it's kind of like, Hannah Arendt's, the banality of evil. You know what I mean? When
Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. Against stupidity, we are defenseless. That's a banger.
Is not evil. And it's kind of like, Hannah Arendt's, the banality of evil. You know what I mean? When she witnessed Eichmann trials and Eichmann himself. It's like evil is boring. The real problem is stupidity, is ignorance. Because how do you defeat ignorance? You can point out to people that are willing to hear of the evil of someone. And I mean this sincerely. I don't know anyone, personally, that if you took Stephen Miller, isolated, and you played a clip of the things that he says.
Every day we arrest another alien they let into this country who raped a child, who beat a woman.
Quote, I don't even know if Hitler, Himmler, Goebbels, I don't even know if these people were as blatant as some of these guys. I don't even know if it's a good comparison. These guys are so... I don't know if they still do this in the White House press briefings, but it's like, hey guys, time to do our 20-minute immigrant crime roundup. So in Phoenix, Arizona today, we arrested one illegal immigrant who had been convicted of 15 traffic infractions. Over here in Colorado, Denver, an illegal immigrant that had murdered somebody, we just got him arrested today. Down here in South Florida, sunny Miami, we arrested an illegal immigrant. It's actually like unbelievable. It's like unhinged.
Today we arrest another alien they let into this country who raped a child, who beat a woman.
Quote, all the kinky-haired, swarthy-skinned, long-despised phantoms, all the teeming ants toiling for the white man's comfort.
And his little physical demeanor and not be able to say, there's something fucked up about that motherfucker. However, how do you identify?
Like, can we just get one politician on stage? Just say that. I need to hear somebody say that. I need to hear somebody ask Trump. I want you to tell me right now, Trump, is Stephen Miller not the most creepy, fucked up piece of shit you've ever seen in your life? I just need to hear one person say it, okay? Just like I need to hear Kamala say the N-word to Trump, because Trump would have said it 1,000,000%. God, you know it's in there. It was right under the surface. You got Obama. You got Kamala. We got to get him in the same room as some... Oh, it'll be that, the Crockett lady. She could bring it out of him.
And change the mind of someone who is so ignorant that they cannot discern between a fact and an outright lie.
Which brings me to the one conspiracy that I believe in. Well, I believe in some, but really is that...
I've watched your shit. You believe more than one.
That's true. But modern conspiracy theories and that lore that often convinces dumb people they're doing important research is the true conspiracy. Because freedom and understanding would be reading alternative histories, actually digesting information and processing the crazy things in the world. And also, like...
Wow. What a good statement. That is true. Personally, I think that this guy's kind of gone a little bit kooky left, a little bit. Not super a lot, but a little bit. But that statement is actually super true. There is a conspiracy right now with regards to the Epstein files. Regardless of if you believe in any of the underlying stuff, the conspiracy was that all of these people concocted and planned to tell you that there was going to be some huge breakthrough regarding it for years. And this was a conspiracy from top down. This was a conspiracy that went so deep, they even roped in alternative media influencers to it who didn't even know they were being roped into it. You want to talk about a conspiracy?
White logs tied to accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein have been released to some conservative political commentators. They walked out of the White House holding binders labeled the Epstein.
Absolutely fucking humiliating. How fucking embarrassed should all of these fucking losers be?
Files. Now, it's not clear what's inside the binders and whether they'll be released to other media outlets. President Trump signed an executive order ordering that the files be released, but Attorney General Pam Bondi says the FBI hasn't turned over everything, and she's expecting more files tomorrow. Epstein was known for socializing with billionaires, celebrities, and...
You said, coming to terms with the chaotic and unknown variables that lead to some of these situations.
Wait, explain that to me again. What's the conspiracy in that?
The conspiracy is that most mainstream conspiracy theories, flat earth, chemtrails, QAnon, all that stuff, is deliberate misinformation to convince dumb people that they're doing important research and keep them away from the truth, which requires a higher...
Oh, I totally believe that.
100%.
Like, look, here, I'll give you the hierarchy of things. You have Steve Bannon. If you want to
Oh my God, is he about to do he's about to give the vertical, we need a name for this, the resonance theory of media. I mean, there's probably a more form, I'm sure this has already been studied, whatever the fuck the name is for it. Is he going to break it down?
Understand what the intellectual direction of what, we'll call it the MAGA movement is. Just listen to Steve Bannon. He spells it out. He says flat out. He says that he's going to bring the war that they've known for a long time, that if the war for the United States of America is going to be won on the streets of Los Angeles. Steve Bannon...
Oh, never mind. Actually, the thing that got me thinking about that the most was actually the FBI. I think it was the FBI that released that Russian propaganda model. I think that simmered in my mind for a while.
Flat out said that, you know what we're going to do before the election was even over. He said that we're going to...
People are saying apparently Andrew has swung back from the far left trajectory he was going. I think that's worth mentioning. Okay.
Contest the election.
Meliorator? Sure.
Steve Bannon flat out said that, you know what we're going to do before the election was even over. He said that we're going to contest the election. We're going to say that the mail-in ballots were fraudulent, and we're going to contest the election, and we're going to go as far as we can, and we're going to break the institution as much as we possibly can.
Almost 100% believe strongly that the 2020 election was stolen.
And we're not going to allow this to be stolen in the canvassing room.
And we'll break the courts.
Was this when he was talking to the, I think this is in that Mother Jones article. don't even know if I saved this one. Fuck, I don't think it was this. Oh wait, was it this? I don't know why this author didn't release the full audio. If he has this, because I think he has the full audio of this. They posted a transcript, but they only ever played like a little bit of the audio.
And what Trump's going to do...
This was before the election, by the way.
It's just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner. The Democrats...
Like, all of the Republicans acted so confused about this, and they said that this was proof. They all said that this was proof that there was a huge conspiracy to rig the election in 2020, right? Hold on. Fuck! I hate this. Is all so stupid. This is all a waste of time, by the way. We're wasting our time right now. All of this is a fucking waste of time. Okay?
So the election is November 3rd, and it's been said that we won't know the results until days later. When do you think we'll know the results?
All right, Jimmy, you raise an important point, and I hope the American people understand it, because this is something I worry about. My view is every vote must be counted. For reasons which I don't have the time to get into tonight, you're going to have a situation, I suspect, in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, other states, where they are going to be receiving huge amounts of mail-in ballots. And unlike states like Florida or Vermont, they're not being able, for bad reasons, to begin processing those ballots until, I don't know, election day, or maybe when the polls close. That means you're going to have states dealing with perhaps millions of mail-in ballots. Here is my worry. What polls show, and what studies have shown, is that for whatever reason, Democrats are more likely to use mail-in ballots.
For whatever reason. The reason was because Trump told them that mail-in ballots were going to be rigged for a year.
Republicans are more likely to walk into polling booths on election day. It is likely that the first votes that will be counted will be those people who came in on election day, which will be Republican. And here is the fear, and I hope everybody hears that. It could well be, and, I don't know what's going to happen, nobody does, but it could well be that at 10 o'clock on election night, Trump is winning in Michigan, he's winning in Pennsylvania, he's winning in Wisconsin, and he gets on the television and he says, "Thank you, Americans, for re-electing me. It's all over. Have a good day." But then the next day and the day following, all of those mail-in ballots start getting counted, and it turns out that Biden has won those states. At which point Trump says, "See, I told you the whole thing was fraudulent."
Like, everybody knew this was going to happen, but it wasn't just like the smart liberals knew and the conservatives were stupid. The Democrats, more of our people vote early that count. Theirs vote in the mail. And so they're going to have a natural disadvantage. This is Bannon talking to a group of, I think, Chinese media people before the election. And Trump's going to take advantage of that. That's our strategy. He's going to declare himself the winner. So when you wake up Wednesday morning, it's going to be a firestorm. You're going to have Antifa crazy, the media crazy, the courts are crazy. And Trump's going to be sitting there mocking, tweeting shit out. You lose. I'm the winner. I'm the king. And he'll be all over. He'll be going, "Where's Hunter? Is Hunter on a crack pipe?" I mean, no, he'll be, because then it doesn't matter. Remember, here's the thing. After then, Trump never has to go to a voter again. He's going to fire Wray, the FBI director. He's going to say, "Fuck you. How about that?" Because he's done his last election. Oh, he's going to be off the chain. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. Like, they already had this. Like, they knew that this was going to be the whole thing from the beginning. Like, everybody knew this, including them. He's going to sit right there and say that they stole it. I'm directing the Attorney General to shut down all ballot places in all 50 states. He didn't go that far, thankfully. Although partially it was because Barr quit. And then the new Rosen Attorney General wouldn't go along with it. And because his whole fucking Department of Justice was going to quit if he fired Rosen and put in Jeffrey Clark 3 days earlier before this was before January 6th. But
That's more of our people vote.
Sorry. Okay. I wish they would release the whole audio for I should just email the author. Or maybe they don't have the full audio and they just have a transcript and some of the audio. I'm so curious why.
And we will break Congress, and we will break the Constitution. And he lays it out exactly what he intends to do. My point being is on the hierarchy of that, it goes from Steve Bannon to fucking Alex Jones. And Alex Jones talks about the flat earth, and he talks about whatever Alex Jones talks about.
I eat babies. I eat them every night. I eat them with barbecue sauce. And I flew to the moon last night with a witch, and I took DMT with Easter bunnies.
Sandy Hook and things like that. This unholy alliance has come together because of one really big reason.
Trump.
They've all figured out how to become incredibly fucking rich because of it.
So maybe the conspiracy isn't, Russia telling people what to do and how to think. It's
I know people don't like to hear it, but I would be careful of that. Money misses a lot of stuff. It's not just money that's driving a lot of these people. If it was just money, we would be in a significantly better position. A lot of this is ideology. People like Bannon are heavily driven by ideology. I think Bannon has had lots of opportunities to moderate or to play ball more with Donald Trump and the rest of his party. I think Bannon is kind of an outsider now. I think a lot of these people are very, very heavily ideologically driven. Some might be driven financially. I think a lot of Trump's family, I think, is driven financially. Trump himself doesn't have a fucking ideology. Trump is driven by narcissism. All of his family members, his spawn, are driven by money. But a lot of the people around him, like Stephen Miller, this is an ideologically possessed man. Bannon is absolutely an ideologically possessed man.
It's just profit incentivized content creators farming outrage through these ridiculous conspiracies.
Yeah, and I have, like, for instance, what is that? What's that thing called? It's a technique that the Russians perfected, and of course they had like a term of art for it.
Neuro-linguistic programming. What? NLP, neuro-linguistic.
No, it's more along the lines is that if you say the most outrageous thing possible about someone or a group of people, that by the time, if you say it over and over and over again, Rachel Maddow did a whole thing on it. I can't remember the term of art.
We'll put it on screen
but
here.
Basically, here it is. And they did it. This is how, I'll give you the example of how they did it.
Apparently the term is eliminatin theory. Yikes! Big misspelling. Not good.
The way that they did it is when Vladimir Putin came to power after Yeltsin in the early 2000s, okay, remember? And everybody looked at him and he said, hey, this guy may be okay. He is he's a technocrat, and he's really smart, and he has seemed to be able to quell all of these, and control all of these oligarchical tendencies that are occurring. And so what he systematically did is he eliminated all potential dissent from inside of Russia.
It's not misspelled, it's called eliminatin. Okay.
And the way that he did it to oligarchical tendencies that are occurring. And so what he systematically did is he eliminated all potential dissent from inside of Russia. And the way that he did it to many people was he took people that were of good stock, that were decent human beings, that were family people, and he accused them of being pedophiles. Everybody said, what are you kidding me? And it didn't matter. They would send out these things. They'd say they're pedophiles. They're pedophiles. They're pedophiles.
Use loyal press organizations to distribute that.
Yeah, or just, at that time, as that time goes on, in whatever way that you distribute it, to the point that what he did to a couple of them, including one guy, I just saw an interview of him. He's an oligarch. He made it to London. They planted pictures on his laptop. London police raided him, and he spent 5 years defending himself. And I forget what it's called, but my point being is that I believe in those conspiracies. I believe that there is a real conspiracy in academia to not actually tell, the true history of the United States or of global history.
Interesting thing about erasing history is it's only possible when you create a monolith out of the past, like capital P past. Like I always think about the way they do that. If you watch some of like the Charlie Kirk debates, he says, well, why should we talk about the past? I'm trying to move forward to the future. Don't be a victim. Don't feel bad about things that happened. And it's playing on like a trope in psychiatry that you should just move on, but they're using it to like cut the connective tissue between the present and the past. So they want you to believe that the past has no connection and nothing that was done by the ancestors or anybody else, or even the older people of today, has any coherent connection to modern times. And we need to be utopian and look forward, because looking back will only cause that trauma to repeat itself, and it's just total bullshit.
Yeah, it almost invariably ensures that we're going to repeat the past.
Yeah.
It almost, and by the way, isn't that the point?
Hey guys, it's me again. So obviously Hunter here is somebody who's dealt with a complete lack of privacy in the past couple of years. But you don't need to be the president's son to have your data leaked. In fact, it's most likely happening to you right now.
What?
And the perpetrators weren't backed by Russia and didn't have to steal your laptop or hack your iCloud to get in. Corporate surveillance is real, as we all know. And data brokers around the world probably have a folder out there somewhere labeled Andrew wants to buy new Nikes or interested in Rogaine for you. I'm not saying that you specifically have hair problems, but if you do, it's okay. It's part of growing up. That's why I use Incognito, the privacy tool that makes invasive data hoarders delete your information. Maybe you're looking for a job on Indeed, or you just got out of like a 4-year relationship and you're signing up for a dating app like Tinder or Hinge. Or maybe you're scoping out the housing market on Zillow. Well, guess what? With every account you make and every search you make from your account, your name, email, home address, IP data, and shopping history is being painstakingly collected and sold to whoever's paying. Mostly to companies you've never even heard of. Data brokers. That's where Incogni comes in. They reach out to data broker sites on your behalf, file official removal requests, and fight back when companies try to play dumb and hold on to your info. After I signed up, Incogni hit up 86 data brokers that had my information. And a week later, I noticed a massive massive drop in spam emails. No more creepy phone calls from healthcare providers I never contacted. No more emails from longevity pill companies that somehow know my blood type. It was like a whole new reality set in, and now they've got an extra level of protection. You know those sketchy people search sites that say your full name, old address, high school mascot, and landline from 2014? With Incogni's custom removals feature, part of their unlimited and family unlimited plans, you can point to any site that's airing out your digital laundry. Damn. And one of their privacy agents will handle it for you. Incogni. To live in this reality, here's all you gotta do. Go to incogni.com/channel5 and use the code channel5 to get 60% off your annual plan. That's incogni.com/channel5, code channel5, or just click the link below. I'm gonna make it easy as hell, and so do they. Just sign up, give them your permission to fight for your data rights, and then you sit back while they go full Rambo on your digital trail. And if you care about your privacy and you don't want
I am a data broker, by the way. I eat all of your guys' data.
your name, your weird search history, or your old Facebook photos ending up in the hands of the highest bidder, get Incogni. Protect your info. Take your personal data off the market before someone tries to use it against you, and that's word to Hunter Biden. Just use code channel5 at incogni.com/channel5 to get an exclusive 60% off. And supporting Incogni means helping to support us here at the office and helps keep Channel 5 corporate data leak free. All right, you guys, stay safe out there. Back to Hunter Biden.
So I want to talk about the 2020 election, because I feel like that's when your personal affairs kind of took center stage as far as the media cycle goes. You also mentioned, before we get into that your sobriety date was before the 2020 election cycle. When exactly do you think you had your last go?
Officially June 1st, 2019.
Oh, so pretty significantly before.
Yeah.
And you met Melissa right around then?
Yeah. Yeah, I met Melissa in the beginning of May. We got married in the middle of May. I tell the story, and I have enough sense to recognize that if I was being told this story by my daughter in real time, I would say, you're out of your mind. It was a miracle that I found her. I met Melissa, and within literally an hour, I was telling her my whole unvarnished life history and the immediate problems that I was facing, which was
trauma dump,
crack addiction. She literally said, "Well, that ends now," and it did. I mean, not that minute. But over the next 2 weeks.
She was like, I'm taking all the crack. I'm the true crack addict now. No more for you, all for me. Gimme, gimme.
And then I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. And I said, well, why wouldn't we do it right now? And so we literally called Justice of the Peace to the house. She came and she married us. For me, it was a miracle. For Melissa, the really hard part started then, in the sense of, like, getting clean and sober is not easy. It's even harder on the people that love you. And if they're that support system, it's a full-time job in that immediate period of time. Because, as I said to you before, the dangerous part is withdrawing from alcohol, and it can be kind of scary. And she went through all of that, and she went through the entire process with me. And she did things that I wouldn't allow anybody else to do. I saw in Melissa somebody that, without any history between us, look at me with as much as love as I looked at her. And I accepted that love in that moment. And a lot of it was tough love. Like, she took my car keys, she took my wallet, she took my clothes for a period of time, so I couldn't leave the house.
Wait, took your clothes?
No, I didn't have anything. It would have been impossible. We were living in the Hollywood Hills. There was nowhere to go. And if I could go anywhere.
Holy shit. Hassan's neighbor.
There's nothing to buy anything with. So
I can remember covering the 2020 election about a year later. And I think it was the first Stop the Steal rally at Reading Terminal Market in Philadelphia. And I saw what I thought was a BLM flag, Black Lives Matter, but it actually said Biden's laptop matters.
Oh, yeah.
And so I asked the guy, what the hell does that mean? And he just sort of kept yelling the slogan over and over again. Couldn't get much out of him.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, what happened with that?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. And I really mean that sincerely. Like, you'll have a lot of people that will come up with something about the laptop. But I always say to anybody, you're steeped in and just through your work, the right-wing narrative around it. And my question to anybody that is keeping an open mind is, what is it that you think the laptop proves? Or what you call the laptop? So everybody has a laptop. So when they say Hunter Biden's laptop, what is it that they're talking about? Do you know?
Well, I know that your entire iCloud was connected to it, all of your personal text messages, private photos, all that kind of stuff.
Like everybody's laptop.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you left it with a repair shop owner who, for some reason, gave it to Rudy Giuliani. Not exactly sure how that's legal. He distributed it to the press. Particularly, I think the New York Post was involved in this.
Did the FBI ever get the original laptop drive? This is one thing that I've kind of wanted to dig into. Because I think there might still be some doubt to where the source of all of that stuff comes from. I don't know 100%. I haven't dug in hardcore to it. But
spearheading of this mass dissemination of your private materials. From what it seemed like, it was a lot of private text between you and your friends, family. Your entire sort of private life was on there.
Yeah. And again, so everybody has a laptop. Everybody has a cloud.
Assuming not.
No, not everybody has a laptop. Everybody has a digital life. Almost everybody has a digital life. Everybody has a digital life, pretty much. And that includes voicemails and pictures and text messages and emails and location data and, everything. Everybody, you do, everybody that is here right now. By whatever means, they got my digital footprint going back decades. Over 20 years. Again, I ask anybody, you're steeped in this, and this isn't a challenging question, but it kind of makes my point. What does my laptop prove about
the big guy. 10% of the big guy. That was everything, remember?
Criminality or anything other than what I had already readily admitted to, completely transparent about.
It proved how huge his fucking schlong was.
Is my drug addiction.
Well, I'm trying to remember specifically what the most radical conspiracies that I heard. I think that a lot of people are concerned or curious about various international business dealings.
So I served on the board of well over a dozen different entities, way more than that, including major global organizations. I was vice chairman of the board of National Passenger Rail Corporation, which is otherwise known as Amtrak. It's the largest passenger rail company in the world, which is more than just a rail company. It's also a real estate company. It's also a commercial real estate company. It's a residential real estate company. And it is probably the largest owners of property in urban metro centers of any organization in the country. And a huge employer. And
hold on, no, wait. I'm sorry. Let me be more clear when I say what this means. And this is like a tech problem or information problem or competency problem. So I haven't dug deep into this, okay, so just know that, okay? Starting in 2021, news outlets began to authenticate some of the contents of the laptop. In 2021, Politico verified 2 key emails used in the Post's initial reporting by cross-referencing emails with the data sets and contacting their recipients. CBS News published a forensic analysis which examined a clean copy of the data obtained directly from Mac Isaac, included the clean data, including over 120,000 emails originally by Hunter Biden and not been altered. So the question isn't whether or not the emails were real. My understanding is everything that came from the laptop was real. It wasn't a matter of like, were these fake pictures or fake emails? It was this a singular laptop that had all of this stuff on it that went to this place that was then eventually turned over to Giuliani? Or was there some kind of hack and like planned dissemination of this material, and the laptop just kind of became the vector or conduit through which that happened? I don't know what I don't know if that's ever been settled or solved.
And a multi-billion-dollar business. And I was the chairman of the corporate governance committee on that board and vice chairman and elected chairman and then resigned before the Obama administration took. As I told you before, I was the chairman of the board of the UN World Food Program, responsible for sustaining.
This is also funny because people always say like, what was Hunter Biden's qualifications to sit on the board? Like, this guy has a whole background, a history of like doing stuff before before Joe was like VP and all of this shit. Like the idea that he had no qualifications for anything, especially just to sit on a board. Like, and people are like, what does he know to sit on the board? What do you think a guy who sits on a board of directors or whatever does? Do you think this guy goes into the fucking mines and, takes out the natural gas from the ground, or is like at the plant, like working the refinery or whatever? Like he sits on a board of directors. He could be there for any number of reasons.
A budget above $2 billion a year for the World Food Program and the contribution the United States makes to the global relief effort as it relates to hunger. I was chairman of the board of the Center for National Policy. I was on the board of Catholic Charities.
Based. Holy based. At Grok, is this real? Yes, the photos are real. Destiny's Beach selfie is a well-known, genuine image from around 2020, often memed for lens distortion, making him look shorter. Donut operator seems authentic as he posed it himself. Destiny does mog in the comparison. True. Somebody link me never mind, I got it.
I was on the board of Jesuit Volunteer Corps Northwest. I was on board. I mean, I keep going down the list of board memberships that I had. And a year and a half before my dad was to leave office, I was approached by a Ukrainian natural gas company through one of their board members to consider being of assistance to a company that was being threatened by the Russian aggression and the invasion of Crimea and the incursions into Donetsk and the Donbass. And I took them on as a client because I was a partner of counsel, at Boyd Schiller Flexner, which was a major national global law firm in which I focused on corporate governance and commercial law. And I represented them for about a 3-month period of time. And through that representation, they asked if I would join the board, which I did. The day that I joined the board, I announced it and sent out a press release of the reasons why that I was joining the board, which came and went and did not become an issue until Rudy Giuliani, along with a guy named Andrei Derkach.
Disgusting. So glad that his entire reputation... He's disbarred now, right? And bankrupt? What a fucking subhuman piece of shit Giuliani turned out to be. I don't think anybody will have ever reached such a great height and fallen such a great distance as fucking Rudy Giuliani. Maybe Game of Thrones. Maybe.
And did not become an issue until Rudy Giuliani, along with a guy named Andrei Derkach and a number of others that have all been convicted of treason for being Russian agents, came up with a conspiracy that Joe Biden was involved in a bribery scheme.
The FBI arrested the person who offered those allegations for falsifying his
Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. La la la. Don't care. Don't care. Who is this? No.
testimony
Don't care.
to the FBI.
So, actually, also link me that. Wait, I didn't even know. Of course, I don't know. Why would anybody make a big deal about this in the media? Nobody gives a fuck. AOC talks about. I want to say Alexander Smirnov, but I know that's not his name. What the fuck is the guy's name? AOC talks about going to the sun at night. What?
Had another amazing idea. So like maybe we can study the effects of global warming from the main source of all the heat in our solar system, the sun. Maybe I can convince Elon Musk, who is absolutely obsessed with me, by the way, to do something good with SpaceX and figure out a mission to the sun in order to get samples. I suggest we go at night because it would probably be too hot during the day, but we'll leave all that up to the scientists.
My mom would 100% believe that's real. Oh, his name is Alexander Smirnov. Fuck, I was right. Fuck you. What was that, Wait, what was that congressional hearing?
Allegations.
What was it? Where was this?
For falsifying
Loading. Oh wait, timestamped.
who offered those allegations for falsifying his testimony.
The only income he has, but it wasn't from Burisma, it's from the Kazakh deal that he's talking about. I never discussed that with him after that. That was a single exchange between him and I.
No. Corruption and a lack of transparency from the Biden family have been common themes through the House Oversight Committee's investigation. And even when asking for simple drafts of then Vice President Biden's speech in the Ukraine, the White House has been anything but transparent. President Biden has done and will continue to do everything in his power to cover up the truth, especially when it's hard to hear. And I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman yields back. Mr. Bobulinski yields back to me for 1 minute. Is there anything that you want to respond to? You don't worry about Mr. Goldman. We don't pay any attention to Mr. Goldman either. But is there anything that anyone said up here that you want to take about 55?
That is an interesting question that Hunter brings up, though. What exactly was the point of the whole laptop thing? What were MAGA essentially alleging? Two things happened. One is they tried to use it to prove something about the emails and that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were doing illegal business dealings together. But two, the most important thing that happened, don't take it from me, the whistleblowers, the hard drive from hell, laptop from hell stopped his momentum, but he was very close to winning outright then and shutting down Trump. The hard drive from hell stopped his momentum and drove up his negatives. In American politics, it's very hard to get your approval ratings up, as you see with Trump. Trump's approval ratings never goes very high to 50, but the way you can drive an opponent's negatives way up, and that's what we did on the hard drive from hell. Holy fucking ads! Make your site load fully and then insert the videos later! Bannon argued that Joe Biden's failure to... Oh, no, wait. Fuck, this is... The hard drive from hell was the inflection point of this campaign because Biden went into hiding. So there were three alternatives that happened, or before that happened. Number one, the worst one, is Trump... Wait. Hold on, where were we? No, wait. What the fuck is... Why does the text keep moving around the screen? I said, you got to attack Clinton. That's who you got to attack. It's like here's Sleepy Joe. He never drove up Biden's negatives. It was only when we got the hard drive and got it to you, then the Post, if you, here's what the Bidens fucked up. From the day the Post story came out, and then you started pumping out we got you this stuff and you just started dumping it, and then the internet started picking it up and they suppressed it. Remember, the best thing that happened to us was Twitter and Facebook suppressing it, because then everybody wants to see it. It's called the Streisand effect after Barbra Streisand, right? The more you try to suppress something, the more people want to see it, so they took the sucker's bait, right? That's why when people tell me lewd stuff's getting crazy, I go, not crazy enough, because really, what they were trying to suppress is not so much the New York Post story. They were trying to suppress the New York Post story, leading to people wanting to link to your material, right? That's what the thing was, and that's what everybody, that's where you see these numbers, they start to explode, right? And Biden made a fundamental mistake. Instead of coming out and addressing it and attacking back, they hid. Nobody gave a fuck about the New York Post story even, which wasn't even, I don't think, like commentary and stuff about the story wasn't suppressed. It was just, it was for less than 24 hours on Twitter. This link was, it had a warning, I think, if you clicked off it, for less than 24 hours. And this drove the MAGA fanaticism up to unprecedented levels. And remember that Matt Taibbi, when he came out, when Matt Taibbi came out and did the Twitter files, all of these dipshit MAGA people that can't fucking read, like to pretend that there was proof that Hunter Biden laptop story was suppressed by the FBI. Matt Taibbi, okay, the actual Elon at the time dick suck, literally said, although several sources recalled hearing about a general warning from federal law enforcement that summer about possible foreign hacks, there's no evidence that I've seen of any government involvement in the laptop story. In fact, that might have been the problem. The decision was made at the highest levels of the company, but without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey, with former head of legal policy and trust Vijaya Gadde playing a key role. This idea that there was some coordinated suppression is just not true. There's no evidence anywhere. There is no evidence anywhere ever that there was some coordinated suppression of this story. The only reason people care about it is because Twitter and Facebook made the decision because they thought it looked weird. And again, no MAGA will ever be honest about this because they lie like they breathe. But it is a weird fucking story, okay? And at a time with Cambridge Analytica, massive mining of Facebook analytics for targeted political ads, at a time when Facebook is literally being compromised by Chinese and Russian bots, at a time when the Guccifer 2.0 dude is literally hacking the DNC and then dumping Podesta emails, via their communicator to Trump's campaign, Roger Stone, and via Julian Assange, and at a time when all of this is happening, right? All of a sudden, a laptop comes out that was dropped off years ago by Hunter Biden at a computer repair store where the owner is blind and then passed off to Rudy Giuliani. Of course, this sounds like the most insane fucking story in the world, but no MAGA will ever admit that. But yeah, the only reason why people cared about this laptop story is because it got censored for a day. Otherwise, there's nothing. There's literally nothing here. Remember when Comey re-announced the opening of the investigation of the Anthony Weiner because they found more emails on his computer? Nothing. Tens of thousands of emails, all this. Oh, no, wait, I'm so sorry. That wasn't for Hunter Biden's emails. I think that was for Hillary Clinton's emails. Still nothing, though. Nothing from that either. Nothing from any of it. Nothing from any of it.
Seconds to respond to.
It's tempting. I mean, my biggest appeal to everyone in this room is I wish you would spend the time focusing on the fact that the Chinese Communist Party infiltrated the White House of the United States of America through the Biden family. I don't say that lightly. It's not a joke. I was willing to die for this country, as was my father and both my grandfathers and my
if only you would have.
brother. This is serious stuff. We should be asking how that happened. Take the Biden name and the Biden family completely out of it. How did the Chinese Communist Party infiltrate the White House of the United States of America? Let's start there. Focus on those facts. What they did, how they did it, why they used money, why they used private enterprises instead of military stuff and other stuff. That is huge to our national security. So I appreciate you yielding that time to me, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, and I'll just say this. Mr. Tlaib and Ms. Presley criticized the investigation, but I think most Americans care about public corruption. And they realize the FBI hasn't done the job, the DOJ hasn't done their job, the IRS hasn't done their job. They've been told to stand down. All that's left is the House Oversight Committee, and we will do our job. And pursuant to the previous order, because votes have been called again, the committee stands in recess subject to the call of the chair. The committee will reconvene 5 minutes after floor votes.
Focus of his only priority working with the Chinese on the go forward.
Ms. Ocasio-Cortez from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Pawlinski, I heard your opening statement. It's submitted to the record, part of our proceedings. I have a quick question. Simple. Is it your testimony today that you personally witnessed President Joe Biden commit a crime?
I believe the fact that he was sitting with me while I was putting together a business deal.
Did you witness?
I can't say anything.
The president commit a crime? Is it your testimony today?
Yes.
And what crime have you witnessed?
How much time do I have to go through it?
It is simple. You name the crime. Did you watch him steal something?
Corruption statutes, RICO, and conspiracy.
What is it?
RICO?
What is the crime, sir? Specifically.
You asked me to answer the question. I answered the question. No. RICO, you're obviously not familiar with. Corruption
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
How does one man commit the crime of RICO? What? What did he do?
Sir, excuse me, sir. RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is
the category of crimes that you're then charged with?
You have charges. You have charges.
Damn, I don't know. Good job, AOC.
Sir, please
name the exact statute under RICO.
Yes.
Well, it's funny. In this committee room, everyone's not here. There's over 18
All right, sir. I reclaim my time.
lawyers that went to law school.
I reclaim my time.
You guys
Okay,
to
thank
define
you,
the
sir. I
statute
reclaim my
under
time.
RICO.
Clearly, what we are seeing here today is a continuation of the 15-month saga of the Republican majority lost in the desert. Impeachment 101. The majority party, or whomever is raising impeachment, must accuse the president of a high crime, a specific high crime or misdemeanor. I would like to submit to the record HRes 918, the House resolution to open this impeachment inquiry.
Without objection to order.
This resolution does not outline a high crime or misdemeanor. It's not here. Now, when we compare the chairman's opening from his previous opening, he's talking about Ukraine and Burisma and all of this. This entire inquiry is based on a blockbuster piece of information that was in a classified SCIF room. And inside that room was a document alleging President Biden directly of a $10 million bribery scheme, extremely serious. What happened? What happened a month ago, Mr. Chairman? That document, the FBI arrested the person who offered those allegations for falsifying his testimony to the FBI. This entire impeachment inquiry is based on an actual, provable individual who has lied. Now, responsible leadership would withdraw an inquiry based on that. Withdraw it. Instead, what we are seeing is that this committee was warned about the falsehoods of these allegations long before that, warned by Trump's Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and yet they proceeded anyway. The chairman proceeded anyway. This committee was warned by Rudy Giuliani's associate right here, Lev Parnas, after that document about the falsehoods of this. Then held hearings where your own expert witnesses said that there was no grounds for impeachment, and you proceeded anyway. And finally, as if none of this was enough, the FBI...
Why are we surprised she knew what RICO is? Because nobody knows anything about anything.
I arrested the individual who was the source of the entire, to quote the chairman, heart of the matter, to launch this impeachment inquiry, and proceeded anyway. At this point, the story is not the fact that the basis of this impeachment inquiry is wrong. The story is why it's proceeding anyway.
True.
Why is this committee proceeding based on false charges? And by the way, no charges. I have yet to hear in the chairman's opening the allegation that they are specifically charging the president of the United States with.
True.
I'm hearing about Biden family. I'm hearing about this and that. I am not hearing the specific allegation by this committee. What is it? It's not here, and that is the problem. The story is when this committee knew that they were working with falsified evidence. That's the story. And with that, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair now recognizes Ms. Mace from South Carolina for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ah, the crazy bitch. Thank you. Yes.
Chairman, on March 1st, 2024, Joe Biden stated he did not interact with Hunter or Jim Biden business associates. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to enter into a record New York Post article. Biden insists he did not interact with his...
Without objection to order.
We're going to go fast here. I have strictly yes or no questions. On that note, the New York Post article, Joe Biden also said, read the record of every single witness. So I did. I first read Devin Archer's deposition, and he interacted with Joe Biden. Then I read the transcripts of Wad Walker, Eric Schwerin, George Burgess, Kevin Morris, Tony Bobulinski, and Jason Galanis. And every single one of them interacted with Joe Biden. And that's just the people we interviewed. Mr. Galanis, my first questions are for you. Did Hunter Biden call Joe Biden with Elaine Ballerina on the line on May 4th, 2014, yes or no?
Yes.
In that call, did Hunter Biden state on this call with Joe Biden
Wait a second.
with Elaine Ballerina on the line on May 4th, 2014, yes or no?
Holy shit. Is this Legal Eagle's evil twin brother? What? Who is this guy? What?
His testimony to the FBI.
For over a 10-year period of time, I worked with a group of people that had a cross-border private equity firm inside of China, and I had a business that was based around advisory for multinational global funds, private equity funds, doing infrastructure work and others. And I was asked to join a fund, the startup inside of China that was had a headquarters in Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, and New York. And I had a 10% equity stake in that, of which I paid, I made my equity contribution in that, just like every other member.
The illegal eagle, true.
Federal officials are looking at his foreign business dealings, including his ties to a Chinese energy company.
And those are my two foreign business dealings.
Yeah, because I was kind of looking into it, and it seems like the conspiracy is that through those connections that you had to these, I guess, foreign governments, they were using you to leverage pressure onto your dad
Again,
somehow.
like what?
Well, that's the thing, is that when you're looking
I'm not putting you on the spot. And I guess my whole point is that I asked these same questions to the House Oversight Committee. I've been investigated by the House Oversight Committee, the House Ways and Means Committee, the House Judiciary Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, the Senate Oversight Committee, and I have been investigated by Maine Justice, the U.S. Attorney in Pittsburgh, the U.S. Attorney in Philadelphia, the U.S. Attorney in District of Columbia, the U.S. Attorney in Los Angeles, the U.S. Attorney of Delaware, the Special Counsel's Office. Not one single person has ever accused me of a crime based upon anything that was in or discovered as it relates to my laptop. Not one. Not a single thing about my laptop.
Crazy, huh?
So this whole idea that there was some conspiracy to cover up the laptop, they uncovered 20 years unvarnished of every single communication that I've ever had over a phone.
20 years! Could you imagine having that kind of access to anything related to Donald Trump?
Or by text, or over email, or computer, in any digital way. There's not one communication that you can even remotely say is evidence of a crime. Not one. Not one time. Not one communication. I would challenge anybody to show one instance, other than me seeking drugs for myself, my own personal use, okay? Or women, as it relates to, people that were in the drug trade that I would seek for the purchase of drugs. One single instance in which anyone has used any one of those communications as evidence of any kind of crime at all. Now, take that, okay? That's it. So you say Hunter Biden's laptop. What? By the way, I'm talking out there to people that I would assume are, or want to be on my side, or at least want to be on the side that I'm part of. What about Hunter Biden's laptop? How about this? Well, it was a cover-up. Twitter took it down, and it was a big cover-up. And you have Matt Taibbi and all these guys who say, yeah, it was that Twitter took it down and Facebook took it down.
It seems that big tech only censors media companies, only censors stories when they're negative towards the Biden campaign.
You know why they took it down? Because what they did was they published naked photos of me.
Which, by the way, when you look at the request that the White House made under Biden to Twitter to take down specific posts, it was pictures of his cock.
Women, which is in violation of their terms, and which, by the way, is a criminal act under the new federal law that was passed by accredited to Melania Trump, with universal support in the House and the Senate. That's why they took it down. It wasn't a cover-up. And then you had 100 former national security officials come out and say, this looks like it could be a Russian op. Because it is. Because in the course of an election, what happens? You have Rudy Giuliani in conjunction with Steve Bannon, in conjunction with Miles Gao, who's in jail, who is, I don't know how many other counts of fraud and bribery, and is a Chinese national, was working directly with Steve Bannon, and a number of others, including Bernie Kerik, who, God rest his soul, is dead. That basically came out and said, we have Hunter Biden's laptop. And the big reveal about Hunter Biden's laptop was that I was a crack addict.
Oh. There was also the 10% to the big man. Did that come from the laptop? It did, right? Or was this before?
Unfortunately for them, I'd already admitted that I was a crack addict in the pages of the New Yorker. It did a 13,000-word article with Adam Mentos, in which I told everything about myself and my own struggles. And they just simply conflated the two. They said, well.
Also, remind me, chat. Remind me. What was the position that Hunter Biden was going to have in the White House again? What was the position that Hunter Biden was going to have in politics? Where were they going to place him? What was he running for?
In which I told everything about myself and my own struggles. And they just simply conflated the two. They said, well, Joe Biden fired the prosecutor in Ukraine to benefit his son. Completely debunked. The person that said that I took a bribe for that happens to be a guy named Shokin, who is in prison for lying to the FBI on Form FD 1023.
Yep.
In prison. Admitted to it.
Yep.
Admitted that he was enticed into making it up on behalf of the Trump team side. The only other guy.
Wait, did he say that? I didn't actually see that, if that's true. I haven't dug into that. Did he say that to the FBI?
They came up and said that there was illegal and wrongdoing and bribery. Was a guy named Gal Luft, who was later convicted in absentia, both by the EU and as a arrest warrant out for him by Interpol and the United States as an arms dealer, selling Chinese weapons to the Iranians and to the Libyans. And so, again, I ask, so Hunter Biden's laptop, so what? So what?
It sounds like it became political cannon fodder to, make that election cycle as colorful as possible.
How do you defend yourself against it, though? So if somebody says...
Well, let's start with the fact that your private photos were leaked by somebody that was supposed to be repairing your laptop.
Some people will go, well, hey, wait a second, aren't you just leafing through someone else's private property?
It can be perceived that way, but again, he hired me to do that.
Number one,
What? He hired him to go through all of his fucking stuff? Can you please go ahead and check all my emails? Fucking loser. What an actual...
Someone else's private property?
It can be perceived that way, but again, he hired me to do that.
Number one.
At Destiny, did you forget that he didn't pay taxes from 2016 to 2019? He's not the golden boy you think he is. Not only... You're so wrong. He was already on a payment plan to have... It was either already made up to the IRS or he was on a plan to pay it back. Okay? Hunter Biden, back pay, IRS... He was protected. Sorry, my bad. I'm on a Republican government website. The new charges filed Thursday, 3 felonies and 6 misdemeanors, are in addition to federal firearms charges in Delaware, alleging Hunter Biden broke laws against drug users having guns in 2018. They came at a time, blah, 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 blah. Hunter Biden spent millions of dollars on an extravagant lifestyle rather than paying his tax bill, special counsel David Weiss said in a statement. The charges are centered on at least $1.4 million in taxes Hunter Biden owed between 2016 and 2019, a period where he is acknowledged struggling with addiction. The back taxes have since been paid. These are already paid off. You want to know who didn't pay a whole bunch of fucking taxes that they owe to the government, though? There was like for $2 million where there was no crime filed against him. It was the fucking Roger Stone. They didn't even charge him with a fucking crime in connection to this. I think he's on a fucking payment plan for $2 million. $2 million going back over more than a decade. The suit says at the time of his indictment, Stone was making regular payments to the IRS on a tax debt of about $1 million that he ran up from 2007 to 2011, but after the criminal case was brought by special counsel Robert Mueller, Stone stopped paying. He also failed to pay about $400,000 in tax and penalties owed on a 2017 return, the suit alleges. He also hid his money from the government. Stone and his wife, Nydia, moved to a nearby condominium apartment that was purchased by a trust that she controlled. The suit alleges that Financial Move and others were fraud aimed at preventing the IRS from collecting the money Stone and his wife owed and still owed to the feds. I would have to go back and relook through Hunter Biden's stuff. I don't think Hunter Biden was ever accused of committing tax fraud. He just didn't pay his taxes, which is bad, but he paid them back. He did. He had them paid before the indictment even came out. Stone was actually committing tax fraud, and there wasn't even a criminal case against him filed. Stop.
One, I literally have no memory of ever dropping my laptop off there, okay? This guy swears that I did, okay? Regardless, to your point, okay? This is Wilmington. That laptop repair shop is in Trolley Square. I had family that owned a business that was literally the opposite side of them. There are literally within a stone's throw of where that person is in a very, very small community, at least a dozen people directly related to my family. Every night he used to go to 2 or 3 different bars in which he could have literally turned and talked to anyone and said, do you know how to get in touch with Hunter?
You're talking about the laptop
repair shop guy. Somehow that doesn't happen. But somehow this guy, who's supposed to be repairing a laptop, he says, decides what he's going to do is he's going to review the material, and what he sees is he thinks is evidence of a crime.
McIsaac says he also found documents that show payments made to Hunter Biden from a Ukrainian energy company that have become the center of a political firestorm.
Like, I'm sorry, no offense, but this guy looks like a fucking inbred dipshit. This guy's going through, I actually don't believe that. Fuck, we'll spend time after the Mueller indictment, maybe. Fuck, there's so much shit. I don't have time. I don't have time for anything. I don't believe this whole story. Just sounds wacky as fuck. I'm going back. I still don't know if I believe this story.
To Hunter Biden.
I thought he was blind. I think that's the son, right? It's the dad or whatever that's supposed to be blind, right?
It's evidence of a crime.
McIsaac says he also found documents that show payments made to Hunter Biden from a Ukrainian energy company that have become the center of a political firestorm.
More emails from Hunter Biden's laptop keep surfacing.
I want to know where Hunter Biden's laptop is. Let's get the truth. What's in this laptop?
Now again, the evidence he thinks is of a crime is my drug use. He thinks it's embarrassing. And all of a sudden, who ends up with my laptop? The one person in that moment in time that had more to gain than anyone else.
I got the hard drive legally, completely legally. Why are they worried about how I got it? Why don't they just say it's untrue?
Rudy Giuliani.
Why are they worried about how I got it? Why are you worried? Why are you worried about how I got a key piece of evidence? Says a guy who was a former prosecutor in New York before he became mayor, right? That guy? Why would you care about where a piece of evidence came from? Says disgraced lawyer. Well, maybe that's why, I guess, huh?
Legally.
Degenerate fuck. What, does he go to the same fucking orangification salon that Donald Trump goes to? Why the fuck does he look like he's jaundiced?
Completely legally. Why are they worried about how I got it? Why don't they just say it's untrue?
Rudy Giuliani and his lawyer on behalf of Donald Trump. How is that possible? Is that just happen to happen?
You think that somebody that knows you may have been paid off to orchestrate some kind of data?
I don't know. And at this point, it's like, who cares? So then I get in an argument about, like, okay, well, who took the laptop? How did the laptop disseminate it? Was it really?
Wait, so where did the drug gun charge come from, if not the laptop? My understanding is that I thought that they got him on the drug gun thing because they read his memoirs. Wasn't that where that came from?
Laptop, because
Hunter Biden Wikipedia. Holy shit. By the way, all of these things came from a special counsel that was running under Biden's presidency while Biden was president. Joe Biden was president. Simultaneously, am I correct on the dates here? Did Joe Biden have 2 special counsels separately investigating him while he was president? It was Durham for the documents and Weiss for his fucking family shit. 2 special counsels? 2? What the fuck? Biden will face 3 criminal counts for allegedly buying a gun while also using cocaine. Not at the same time, he just happened to use cocaine at the same time that he also bought a gun, which is maybe illegal, depending on how you read the ATF form, because who the fuck knows what that actually means when you fill it out. It just says that you have to pledge that you are... You just have to pledge that you're not a current user of or addicted to narcotics, which who even knows what this means? You fill this out every time you buy a firearm. Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, am I high right now while I fill out the form? I don't know if anybody even knows what the fuck this means. I don't know if anybody in the history of all of history has been charged with lying on a 4473 about drug use without it being connected to another crime ever. I don't know if that's actually the case. I don't know if that's ever happened ever. Usually this is like you break into a dude's house, he's beating the shit out of his wife, and he has a gun, and he's fucking high. Okay, well, you hit him up with both charges then. Assuming you bought the gun on a 4473, like legally. But I don't know. I couldn't find any when I asked for if this ever happened in isolation before. The prosecutors helming the gun case, Derek Hines and Leo Wise, will lean heavily on Biden's memoir to show that he was a drug user on October 12, 2018, when they say he bought a handgun from StarQuest Shooters and Survival Supply in Wilmington. Biden didn't discuss he didn't discuss the gun purchase in the memoir, but he gave a detailed account of his drug abuse. So that's what they did. So they read the memoir, saw that he was using drugs, and then went back and saw that he bought a gun. And now they're tying in the prosecutors have called it his incriminating book and cited his description of drug abuse in 2018 around the time he allegedly bought the gun. It's actually unbelievable, dude. They talk about it in the interview. Oh.
Really isn't, by the way. Here's another anomaly of this. There really isn't a laptop. There's a hard drive. And then there's an amalgamation of a hard drive. There's an original hard drive.
Oh, yeah. Is there a hard drive or is it an image or a digital copy of a hard drive?
He says he has, and he argues with everybody else who says that there are like 400 gigabytes more that were added onto that from the dark web.
You never got a laptop before you wrote that story, did you?
That's correct.
You got a hard drive.
Hard drive.
And you received that hard drive from Rudy Giuliani, right?
Yep.
Okay. Who had been openly associating with an agent of Russian intelligence in the months leading up to your story. You agree with that, right?
I guess.
So you think the repair shop story is made up?
I don't know, but all I know is that whatever this amalgamation of stuff is came from a whole host of different sources.
Yeah.
Because you can look at it now and the stuff that like...
I didn't know it was this bad. This is an actual witch hunt. Look at the Ken Starr investigation into fucking Bill Clinton and where the Monica Lewinsky stuff came from. This isn't new. This is what Republicans do. This is how they witch hunt.
Like, who thinks this is right? Who thinks it's right that every picture that you've ever taken...
What, the existence of the whole Hillary Clinton email server, didn't that only come from investigations of all the stuff related to the Podesta DNC email hack, the Russian email hack of the DNC servers? That's the only reason people even knew that email server existed. Like, all of it is off the backs of just the most unhinged fucking shit of the universe.
The ones that
you talk about like fruit of the poison tree. This is like fruit of like the poison fucking acreage, fruit of the poison like continent. It's unbelievable.
Would be embarrassed by, and the ones that you would be proud of should be on a website controlled by a guy that is a Christo-fascist fucking incel that lives in Indiana or Illinois.
Destiny, Hunter Biden's judge denied the argument that Cannon used to dismiss Trump's documents case. That's because when Eileen Cannon, even when God, I hate these people. Even when the Supreme Court made this immunity decision and Thomas came out writing his concurrent opinion, he didn't even attack. I don't think he attacked all special counsels. I think he only attacked the Mueller special counsel. And he didn't even touch any of the other ones. I'm trying to think if he calls out Mueller by name here. Oh, okay, maybe he doesn't. But they didn't try to apply this because Eileen Cannon tossed, I'd have to go back and read her rationale because it's like a 70, 80 page thing, but she cites Thomas's opinion here. Because Eileen Cannon wants to toss everything related to the Jack Smith thing, saying that, well, actually, we can't have, oh, wait, does this call it Smith? No, it doesn't. Saying that we can't have a special prosecutor because the Attorney General doesn't have the right to appoint a special prosecutor. And it's like, none of you guys had any problems with special prosecutors when they were up Biden's ass like crazy. But now all of a sudden, in a completely unrelated case, Thomas, maybe on some drugs loaned from fucking Elon Musk, writes out this whole random as fuck opinion about how, well, actually, I think that special prosecutors I think they're actually unconstitutional.
Forget which one.
Let's hope Indiana, because it's worse.
But really, who comes up with a 435-page dossier about all the crimes that it details? But literally, it just is it is an entire fiction that makes money off of. Who thinks that's right? And so, but again, I get these discussions where, well, how did the laptop? Their laptop really doesn't exist. But what is it? Like, you go down these rabbit holes and you do exactly what they say. As long as they say laptop loud enough.
Sorry, hold on. If you don't know, okay. In August of 1994, pursuant to the newly reauthorized Ethics in Government Act, Ken Starr was appointed by a special 3-judge division of the D.C. Circuit to continue the Whitewater investigation. Okay? Continuance of, I don't even remember what the fuck this investigation was for. American political controversy began in the 1990s, began with an investigation into the real estate investments of Bill and Hillary Clinton. Okay? The Whitewater scandal. I don't know if neither Bill or Hillary were ever prosecuted after 3 separate inquiries found insufficient evidence linking them with criminal conduct of others related to this land deal. But regardless, so that had been happening for a couple years, and then they appointed Ken Starr to look into this. He replaced Robert B. Fisk, a moderate Republican who had been appointed by Attorney General Janet Reno. Starr took the position part-time and remained active with his law firm, Kirkland & Ellis, as this was permitted by statute and was also the norm with previous independent counsel investigations. As time went on, he was increasingly criticized for alleged conflicts of interest stemming from his continuing association with Kirkland & Ellis. Kirkland, and like several other major law firms, was representing clients in litigation with the government, including tobacco companies and auto manufacturers. The firm itself was being sued by the Resolution Trust Corporation, a government agency involved in the Whitewater matter. Additionally, Starr's own actions were challenged because Starr had, on one occasion, talked with lawyers for Paula Jones, who was suing Bill Clinton over an alleged sexual harassment. Starr had explained to them why he believed that sitting U.S. presidents are not immune to civil suit. By the way, going in the complete opposite direction, because remember the Nixon v. Fitzgerald case was about whether or not presidents had immunity from civil litigation, which they do, which is the case that Roberts built on, and this current insane Supreme Court built on to say actually they have criminal immunity as well. Even though in that very same case the Supreme Court justices considered for a moment the criminal immunity and laughed it off and said it would be ridiculous. Obviously, when this constitutional question ultimately reached the Supreme Court, the justices unanimously agreed. Citation needed. I don't know where this is heading. On October 10th, 1997, Starr's report on the death of Deputy White House counsel Vince Foster, drafted largely by Starr's deputy Brett Kavanaugh, who's that guy, was released to the public by the Special Division. The complete report is 137 pages long and includes an appendix added to the report by the Special Division over Starr's objection. The report agrees with the findings of previous independent counsel Robert B. Fisk that Foster committed suicide at Fort Marcy Park in Virginia, and that his suicide was caused primarily by undiagnosed and untreated depression. As CNN explained on February 28, 1997, the Star report refutes claims by conservative political organizations that Foster was the victim of a murder plot and cover-up. Wow, the original Seth Rich. But despite those findings, right-wing political groups have continued to allege that there was more to the death and that the president and First Lady Hillary Clinton tried to cover it up. CNN also noted that organizations pushing the murder theory included the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review, owned by billionaire Richard Mellon Scaife, and Accuracy in Media, supported in part by Scape's Foundation. Scape's reporter on the Whitewater matter, Christopher Ruddy, was a frequent critic of Starr's handling of the case. I don't know who this guy is or there, but expansion of the investigation. The law conferred broad investigative powers on Starr and the other independent counsels named to investigate the administration, including the right to subpoena nearly anyone who might have information relevant to the particular investigation. Starr would later receive authority to conduct additional investigations, including the firing of White House travel office personnel, potential political abuse of confidential FBI files, Madison Guaranty, Rose law firm, Paula Jones lawsuit, and, most notoriously, possible perjury and obstruction of justice to cover up President Clinton's sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky. The Lewinsky portion of the investigation included the secret taping of conversations between Lewinsky and co-worker Linda Tripp, requests by Starr to tape Lewinsky's conversations with Clinton, and requests by Starr to compel Secret Service agents to testify about what they might have seen while guarding Clinton. While with the investigation of Clinton's possible adultery, critics of Starr believed that he had crossed a line and was acting more as a political hitman than a prosecutor. They dug and 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 dug so much until they hit this years and years after these original investigations. But this is what they do. This is what they do. And luckily they found this. They had this Monica Lewinsky thing that popped up for Clinton, but this was not like originally like an investigation about this particular thing. Same thing with this Hunter Biden laptop shit and all the other, and the Benghazi shit and the emails shit and the everything. It's just fucking unbelievable.
Often enough, you automatically, and Hunter Biden, crack cocaine. And, here's the picture.
Meanwhile, I'm sorry, I hate all these people. Meanwhile, okay, these guys are shameless. Meanwhile, Mueller fires the FBI agent Strzok, is kicked off the Mueller investigation, and I think either fired from the FBI or put on leave. I don't know if he ever got fired from the FBI. This guy gets kicked off the FBI investigation just because somebody leaked a text message where he's shitting on Trump. Because obviously everybody in the intelligence services fucking hates Trump because he shits on them constantly, and he got kicked off just because Mueller wanted to avoid the appearance of impropriety. Like, it's not the same. It's not even close. It's not even close to the same on these two sides. I hate everybody that pretends it's even remotely similar between these two groups of people, between Republicans and Democrats. It's wild. He was fired from the Bureau in 2018 after his disparaging text message about Donald Trump. So he did get fired, yeah.
Here he is shirtless, smoking crack in a bathtub. And, I keep flashing that over and over again. And I say Hunter Biden, laptop, Ukraine, China, Hunter Biden, laptop, bird flu. Like, literally, you keep doing that over and over and over again? What? Like, none of it bears any resemblance to reality. The reality is this. I ran into legal trouble based on two things. One is I failed to pay my taxes on time during the worst time of my addiction. Remember I said to you that I started in the downward spiral of my life, and I did not come out of that until May of 2019. When I came out of it, I immediately started to try to pick up the pieces of my life and put them back together. And like anybody that comes into recovery, you don't come into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous or anywhere else. You don't come in on a winning streak. Nobody comes in like just having won the lottery. Everybody's on the balls of their ass to come in, and they got a lot of things to clean up in their life, and some worse than others. Mine, at this point, was about relationships and my finances. And one of the things that I realized is that my accountant had died. I go to get a new accountant. I figure out how I'm going to pay for the new accountant, and they go to get the transcripts of my previous taxes, and they say, we don't have any record of your taxes being filed in 2016 and 17, which would mean the years 2017 and 18, like the worst years of my addiction. Now, for 15 years of my life, I had my own business and I had a partner, and I had an accountant, and I had a staff of people that did my taxes. Like somebody else did my taxes. They had authorization to sign my name and send my taxes in. And they had a tax account, and they would pay it out of the tax account because it would be withheld from my income. That all fucking completely fell apart when I was smoking crack every 15 minutes, and my business failed, the people in my life left, my wife divorced me, it all went away. And when I realized that my taxes had never been filed, they'd all been filled out, signed, checked attached, but never filled and never sent in, because that was the final step of my responsibility. I realized that I didn't. I filed my taxes, and I paid penalties and interest. That's one thing. Second thing is, in 2018, went and I bought I was here in Delaware. It was a period of time in which I had one of those times that I was trying to get clean and sober. And I just come back from a rehab. I came back here. I went to get my phone replaced at AT&T. Next door, there was a survival gun shop. And I went in and just to look around while I was waiting for my phone. And on a whim, I bought a handgun, put it in my truck. Somebody in my life thought I was going to hurt myself with it, threw it in a trash can. And I made them go back and try to find it. And when they couldn't, I told them that they needed to call the police and file a report that the gun had been lost. The gun was recovered. It had never been loaded, never been fired. It was in my possession inside of a lockbox for a total of 10 days. They charged me with tax evasion, 13 different counts, in 3 different jurisdictions. By the way, over 50 million Americans a year pay their taxes late. There are over $100 billion in taxes that there are identified people that have not paid, that have failed to pay their taxes for over 5 years. Okay? There's a box that you check. In that box, when you go to purchase a gun, says that you're not addicted to a narcotic, illegal substance, including marijuana. And I check that box because, in my mind, it was a state of mind question. Are you in the moment right now addicted to any?
Nobody knows what that question means, by the way. It's a meme. That's a meme question, right? Like if I smoked marijuana yesterday and then I go to fill out the 4473, right? Nobody checks that box yet. And also no one knows, like there's not even clear direction from the ATF on what that even fucking means, right? That's there so that, again, if somebody dings you doing some criminal shit and you've got a gun and you're high, well, they're going to probably get you on the illegal purchase of the firearm. Maybe. I don't even know if they charge you in connection with that, because I don't even know if... I don't know if that would even count as lying on a federal form at the time. It's such an unbelievable charge. By the way, and remember, these are the crimes that Pisco says it is highly immoral and unethical for Biden to pardon his son for. It's actually unbelievable.
Any illegal drug. Well, even though it had not been used in the commission of a crime, even though they never ever fired the gun, even though I never bought it with the intent to do a crime, even though people buy guns every single day, obviously, that smoke marijuana, and it is equally against the law to check that box if you do, or to own a gun if you smoke marijuana on a regular basis.
Joe Rogan.
Just in any way. They charged me with 3 different counts that could be up to 30 years in prison. Those are the 2 things. And this is obviously a special counsel that had come to an agreement with me and a plan in which I would have a diversion agreement and a plea agreement. And they blew it up on purpose at the behest of the right wing.
I got sober in 2019. So the acknowledgments in his own words, he read his audiobook, are that, hey, I was not sober when I was not...
This fucking King Coop, unbelievable, this guy, dude.
Off drugs when I was purchasing that gun, which is illegal.
My whole point of all of that is that was the culmination of years of investigating me. Nothing about Ukraine.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the charge for being intoxicated or under the influence of some substance and using a gun at the same time is actually different than the ATF one. I don't know if anybody actually ever gets charged with that ATF one. I'm so curious. I wish there was an easy. I don't think there's like a database, because I was trying to find this for my own thing, looking up civil cases. I don't think there's like a database where you just look up like every criminal charge filed in some state. There should be, right?
Nothing about a laptop. Nothing about my father. Nothing about bribery. Nothing about China.
Nope.
Nothing about children.
Nope.
Nothing about.
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing. No, the big man, 10%, Burisma, nothing.
I know you are, and I get so tired of having. I'm not saying to you, but it's just like it's like spitting into the wind, man. Like, what's the point? Like, it is just like, how do I fight against New York Post? How do I fight against Fox News in their echo chamber? No matter what I say, they can say whatever the hell they want to say, and they know it. They absolutely know it. They can say whatever they want to say. For over a year, I was the number 3 most spoken about person on Fox News without having done anything in 3 years. Like, me personally. I had not left the country. I had not left the state of California. I had not left.
And he wasn't running for office. He wasn't running for anything related to government.
House on more than 2 or 3 occasions for the simple fact of not being harassed. I literally sat in the garage by virtue of my choice and my desire and painted for 3 years. And then they accused me of crimes for painting. What do you mean? Not that I couldn't sell my paint. That it was a clear conspiracy to.
Why Hunter Biden's artwork sale has sparked ethics concern. Wait, what? On fucking Cuck News Network, on CNN? No shot. Wait, no shot. That's not a real article. This is deep faked AI, and they're about to laugh, and I shouldn't even be looking this up because they're going to laugh immediately. Hunter Biden's artistic debut is sparking ethics concerns for the White House as some critics raise eyebrows over the high-priced pieces and whether they pose a conflict of interest. Are you serious? And we have Trump coin? We have Trump coin, Trump coin, we have Trump coin, we have Trump coin, 60% stake, Trump coin, we have Trump coin right now. Pieces are priced between 75 and 100. Did he even sell these fucking artwork pieces? Did he even sell these? And he wasn't even in the government. He wasn't even in the government. He wasn't even part of the government. He didn't do anything in the government. Meanwhile, we have Eric Trump giving an interview to Benny Johnson, who took illegal money from fucking Russia to do propaganda through a shell company, doing an interview with Eric Trump talking about a made in America cell phone that's made in China that they're going to be selling. Bro. Oh, we watched this on the Rumble. I don't even know if they talk about it.
For everything that you just detailed, the multiple assassinations and the actual scope trained on your father's head, who took a bullet to the head for this country.
A bullet to the fucking head? What? 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 It was the smallest corner of his ear, maybe. Hunter Biden's artistic debut is sparking ethics concerns for the White House as some critics raise eyebrows over the high-priced pieces and whether they pose a conflict of interest.
You an opportunity to explain that you can build things here in America with Trump Mobile.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, we can and we will. So we launched Trump Mobile. And Benny, this all started when they deplatformed my father, right? We had to build Truth Social, right? Thinking about the fact that they were taking away his freedom of speech. Then all of a sudden, for our company, they start coming after our bank accounts. They were trying to cancel us. They pulled every account from us. And so we really got to the crypto space, World Liberty Financial and others, because we wanted to combat that. We believe in DeFi. We want to give people financial freedom back. We're doing the same thing with Trump Mobile right now. I'm incredibly excited. You can build these phones in the United States. Our customer service is in the United States. It's in St. Louis, Missouri.
All that is a lie, by the way. It's not. It's made in China. They took that off the fucking website. And anybody that knows anything about any part of technology or anything about engineering ever, period, actually, anybody that's ever made or ordered or looked into the assembly of a single fucking complex product in their entire fucking life knows that no company in 2024, 2025 can announce, oh, by the way, this new highly sophisticated technological thing, we're making this in America and it's going to be shipping in 6 months.
We can add more functionality, we can do it cheaper, we can do it better, and eventually all the phones can be built in the United States of America. We have to bring manufacturing back here. And so our ethos is, build for Americans, by Americans, do it cheaper, do it better. Monthly plans, $47 a month, which we kind of thought was fun and cool. Unlimited calling.
$47 a month. Okay, I'm done.
Launder money and to curry influence by selling acrylic on canvas abstract painting by Hunter Biden.
How do you prevent a purchaser paying too much so as to ingratiate themselves with the first family?
All of a sudden,
oh my God, fucking kill me.
The Iranians are going to change their nuclear weapons program. I mean, it's such fucking insane bullshit. Meanwhile, these motherfuckers...
With Trump Mobile, we're going to be introducing an entire package of products.
They're selling gold telephones and sneakers and $2 billion investments in golf courses and selling tickets to the White House for investment into their meme coin.
Overnight, President Trump returned
That was one out of 50 things. That was like 2% of all the insane shit that this fucking moron has had his hands in selling.
The White House after a black tie gala for the biggest buyers of the Trump crypto coin.
The Qataris give him a jet, and the Emiratis put $2 billion into their crypto.
God, can you for
the biggest buyers of the Trump crypto coin.
The Qataris
just any of this. Hillary Clinton flies in on a $400 million Qatari jet. Like, can you imagine? It would be a mass suicide event for conservatives in the United States. Their heads would explode. Their heads would explode.
A jet, and the Emiratis put $2 billion into their cryptocurrency, and the Saudis are going to build a tower. And I mean, by the way, that's just what we see. And I even hate mentioning my name in that because either I'm the biggest fucking moron on the face of the earth, or like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, what is Fox News talking about? Anybody that mentions my name in Crime Family in the same, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, believe the
prediction. I think this Midas Touch clip will get less than 5,000 likes. I'll retweet it. But less than 5,000 likes.
When you're talking about...
I already know exactly what she's... Because this wasn't even a thing. The new conspiracy right now, by the way, is that there was some huge lie about Russia hacking or interfering in our elections, by the way.
I think when you're talking about... And there's so many... I don't know. I'm kind of going in a few different directions here with
this is September 2018, apparently.
These social media giants, how they're being misused to further certain agendas in different ways. But when you're talking about like these Russian troll farms that you mentioned, what is missing from all of the news coverage around this and all of the outrage about how this foreign country is trying to influence our elections, which is wrong and which the American people need to be aware of where this information is coming from, is the fact that and you're saying, why does somebody do that? Well, because this country does want to influence who we're electing, right?
Yes.
Oh, we'd rather work with this person. We know that person's not going to be nice to us. The United States has been doing this for a very long time.
Sure.
In countries around the world, both overtly and covertly, through these kinds of disinformation campaigns, not even counting like the outright regime change wars, we're going to physically take you out. And I think it is very hypocritical for us to be discussing this issue as a country without actually being honest about how this goes both ways. So yes, we need to stop these other foreign countries, and Russia's not the only one, there are others, from trying to influence the American people in our elections. We also need to stop doing the same thing in other countries.
Yeah, without doubt. But there's also...
What changed?
So the question is, what is Russia trying to achieve? Like, why do they want someone like Donald Trump in office versus someone like Hillary Clinton? Like, what is to be gained? And how much, how much do they benefit from that?
Yeah.
This is what's really one of the big questions that's going on right now.
Yeah.
With all the Russian hearings and the Mueller investigation and trying to get to the bottom of all this and why they did what they did and what they did. And there's many people that are blowing this off and they don't think that it's important, and the president's claiming it's a witch hunt. But it's very odd that we're having this conversation in the first place. It's never existed before in any single presidential election. There's never been talk of us or any politician that's running for president being influenced by a foreign superpower before today. It's just amazing that it took until 2016 before this became a real issue.
That's true.
Wonder what happened. Okay. We'll finish watching this tomorrow.